I mean, you can't discount just the degree of enthusiasm that I know you can't talk to Marty without feeling it, but even my other friends, I mean, they truly do love movies or the cinema, whatever you want to call it, and there's just a natural enthusiasm that you tend to want. I call them and say, you got to see this,
Yeah.
and then
And
it's a natural thing that people who love film will want to share it and stimulate it. I don't think it's by any kind of design.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening to the first episode of Floating for Film. This is your host, Danny, and thanks for giving us a chance. I thought for our first episode, we would just try to, use some topics to introduce ourselves and our taste in movies. Um, and so that first topic is going to be basically a two-part question. The first one being, what was the first movie that originally got us into movies? Even maybe from a young age, maybe not, that really got us into movies. And the way I phrased it was, what was what was the door that opened the door for movies for you? And then the second part to that question is, what was the movie that really made you walk in, go fully into the room, into the abyss? No, but okay. Okay, I haven't even introduced the other two hosts that are going to be with me on this podcast, so I'll do that now. The first one is Blake over here.
What's up?
And Luke.
Hello.
So now you know what their voices sound like. Let's get right into it. So Blake, I'll start with you. What was the door to your movie-going experience?
Alright. I think it would have to be, I'm going to go with Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
It was really the first movie, from a young age, that really got me into movies. I didn't fully understand. This is what the second part of the question is going to be for, understanding what movies I can actually be.
Exactly, yeah.
But this is the first one that actually, I like movies because of Lord of the Rings, they're the reason I kind of like movies. That fantasy setting, the camera. Peter Jackson's camera work in those movies is insane anyway. It looks insane.
And
the acting's great. It's a great adaptation.
And it's a great movie for even a young moviegoer to be
It is.
To actually appreciate details of the movie, of what a movie is.
Yeah, you can show it to your kids and be fine with it.
It's
for the most
kind
part.
of scary.
No, it is scary in some parts, but
and
but that's why I would say it would be my what the door was for movies to me.
Okay, all right. That's a good pick. Luke, what about you?
So for my door, it's not a movie from my childhood because I watched movies in my childhood, but I wouldn't say I watched a ton of movies, and I wasn't super into the movies I watched as a child. But really freshman year of high school, I watched. So I downloaded Letterboxd, and I was kind of just scrolling through there one day, and I didn't know I was gonna get into movies. I was just kind of looking at it, and then I saw the poster for Grand Budapest Hotel.
Oh.
And
I did not see that.
I saw that my older brother, who also had Letterboxd at the time, had 5 stars. I was like, okay, this gotta be a good movie. And there's people actors that I recognize in the movie, and it looks cool. So let's watch it. And it just kind of it's nothing I ever watched before because it's for someone who hadn't been exposed to a ton of movies. That movie's a foreign thing, total foreign
definitely.
thing. And so really it just
the level of set design,
detail.
Honestly,
yes.
That's gonna be some of the thing talking about movies.
Yeah, and it just was something I never seen before, and really, it started the process of opening my eyes to the deeper parts of what movies are about.
Okay, it's a good pick, Wes Anderson. All right, and mine's gonna be more similar to Blake's pick with Lord of the Rings, but for me, this movie, it's probably a lot of people's movies in term. Okay, I'll just say that first, The Dark Knight. It's for people our age, especially, early 20s, mid 20s,
Late 20s.
Late 20s. Oh, I don't want to think about that. But anyway, The Dark Knight, get past the Batman part, which obviously is super cool, but it was just a different Batman movie, it made you, a similar theme was what both you guys were talking about. At least it made you think about, why do I like this movie so much? Not just, I like that movie, I'll go, Now where are we eating dinner? You know, that kind of thing.
It was,
Yeah.
Like,
it was a Batman themed crime drama.
yeah, basically, yeah. Like, honestly, like now that I look back on it, it was kind of like, why did I feel so many different emotions watching this movie compared to a normal movie where I feel like I can almost guess, you know, what you're supposed to feel in every scene.
Yeah.
You know, based on how, you know, same the characters are. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not only Joker, right? It's a lot of the other characters, and like, honestly, I still think about the music a lot, just like the way the music influences
for
the movie a
sure.
bit. But yeah, so long story short, The Dark Knight. I could go on forever about it, but yeah, that was definitely my door movie. So now, Blake, the honestly better question: what is, you know, the true movie that made you walk in, not just open the door?
This is a better question. It's also the way harder question
Oh,
because
yes.
there's a lot of different ways you can go with this one.
Okay.
But I am going to go the Blade Runner route because that's the movie that I actually watched where I was like, damn, man, like this is where movies can actually like go. Like the production design, that movie, the hair and makeup, the way he made it look just like a real dystopian future that could actually exist in LA. Like this was supposed to be 2020, what, 2019, 2021, something like that.
Yeah.
It was set in.
Yeah.
I can't remember,
I
but
think it's 2019.
yeah, 2019, because it's 30 years before Blade Runner 2049. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was literally a city that you could see existing, and the way that he portrayed, that Ridley Scott portrayed, all the different like languages, like just the street talk that Harrison Ford does at the very beginning with all the different street vendors before actually getting picked up by the cops. Like that stuff's just all really cool. It's just all really really interesting world building that he does in the background. That you don't really see in great movies, or like you only see in great movies, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like
No,
most
definitely.
movies don't have great world building. I feel like,
Oh,
especially sci-fi movies like that.
That's
One reason why Blade Runner stands the test of time, in my opinion. But there were multiple different ways I could have gone with this. I could have gone with Kurosawa movies. I could have gone with so many
might
different.
make
Like,
me change my mind now.
I mean, because
If you start mentioning
now
it.
I barely watch American movies, to be quite honest. But and that's because of people like Kurosawa that really
Yes.
made me think about like this is where most American filmmakers now got their stuff from, is like all these old Japanese, French, Chinese, like Russian directors, you know. That's what all these people got it from. But I chose Blade Runner because I think that's what actually really got me into.
Took you to the next level.
It took me to the next level. Yes.
That's a good pick, dude. Like, especially the world building aspect. That's obvious. That'll, like you said, will definitely stand the test of time.
Yeah.
And honestly, kind of how street level it is too. Like, it feels like a big world, but it's also very street level. You know, with
It
Harrison
is.
Ford walking around like these smoky streets and stuff.
So good.
But, all right, Blake. I mean, Luke. What was yours?
Well, I'd say the movie that really got me like to think more in depth about movies. It's like how I've become today, like led me down that path. It's 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, and I mean it's a no-brainer. I mean
It is. Honestly.
it's 2001. What can I say? I mean
No.
It's no Blade Runner.
yeah. There's
If you're listening to this podcast, hopefully you've watched 2001. You understand.
I mean,
that,
yeah.
so.
I mean,
But-
it's there was so many like different aspects of it, like you know the beginning, like how it like set it up. You never see that in any other movie. I mean, or any
No.
other like
Or,
major blockbuster movie in America. Or
especially how
Hollywood.
much time it spends on
Yeah.
the apes. You know, no dialogue for like probably
Yeah.
30 minutes.
It is
almost.
about the first 30 to 40
Maybe
minutes.
longer, yeah.
But and then after that, you know, the scenes in space where it's just like painfully slow, but at the same time, it's not painfully slow. It's like
Yes.
almost hypnotizing, you know. And
That's a perfect word for that. dude.
at that point, I'd never seen a movie.
Especially
that
the famous, the famous jump cut
Oh yeah, that okay.
from past to future.
Oh
like,
man.
Yes.
it must have been amazing just watching it for theaters in the 60s.
Yeah.
Because, it was amazing for me watching it at home. But
We watched it in theaters too.
yeah, we
Oh,
did.
it was
That
amazing, so-
honestly, yeah, that was. Because we live in Arkansas, if you couldn't tell by voices by now or something.
Yes.
But, yeah, so we don't get a lot of great movies in theaters here. But yeah, 2001 was obviously a great one
And
we got
then,
to see.
of course, I mean the ending. It
Yes.
doesn't make sense to me then. Doesn't make sense to me now. But like the first time I watched it, like just how like foreign it felt to me. Like kind of like it gave me chills, to be honest. Like on
Okay.
how like
Okay.
just like
No, it's,
strikingly like visual and just mysterious it was, and it kind of just like showed that like maybe not all movies are meant to be understood at a most basic level of storytelling.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Or even like being able to describe it perfectly in words level.
Yeah, pretty much. Just the concept of cinema.
Yes.
In general.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, that's basically what
that
movie did for me, to be honest.
Okay, because that pick leads to mine, which is also a Kubrick movie, but it's not 2001. It's A Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
Because, so I kind of have to give a little backstory on how I got to Kubrick, basically. Because I had this teacher, or me and Blake had this teacher in high school that used to always mention Dr. Strangelove and what a great movie it was. And I just remember always thinking, like, it just had a weird name.
Yeah.
You know, like, because he would always mention the full name, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying, Love the Bomb. And so then later when I got into, actually started trying to watch movies, like basically using the IMDb Top 100 list,
Yeah.
I remember seeing Dr. Strangelove on there. Like, it was in the 60s or something. I don't know where it is now, but... So I was like, oh man, I recognize that name. Like, that was the one my favorite teacher used to tell us about. So I decided to watch it. I really liked that one, but it's not like... It wasn't like a game changer kind of movie. I was like, oh, okay, that's a good old comedy. Like, I like it way more now. But
It's way more
then I
relevant
watched,
again now.
because of that, I watched A Clockwork Orange. And I, like, at the end of that movie, I remember, I was like... Because at the very end of it, if you've never watched a movie like that, like, in terms of making you feel, like, almost bad, or make you feel good for a bad character, like, an actually bad character,
An evil character, yeah.
Yeah, and like, I just remember sitting there for, like, a while, just being like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to feel right now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I like the movie. I was like, I actually don't know if I liked it.
The
but,
moral dilemma of it.
Yeah, but, like, if you're still thinking about it, like, a week later, that's honestly, like, that's obviously what Kubrick would want more than just saying, oh, I liked it, and then never thought about it again.
Yeah.
But, like, I still remember, like, and now, like, I actually just like the movie now way more, but back then, like, after that first time, like, that was when I also was like, okay, I need to read about, what was Kubrick thinking when he made this, Like, I have to know, like, I have to watch his other movies, I have to watch, Full Metal Jacket and Eyes Wide Shut and everything.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like 2001 as much.
Oh,
the first
really?
time I watched it.
Oh, wow.
The first time, like, I thought it was kind of slow. Like, if every criticism someone that was watching for the first time could give, and they might actually be kind of right.
Yeah.
Like, there's no story that's, so no through line you can pay attention
Honestly, it's
to.
still surprising to this day that I wasn't bored by it.
Yeah, no, that's why it's actually...
I'm shocked by it, like my former self. Like,
Yeah.
I'm shocked by my former self.
Yeah. But, no, because honestly, that's like, Clockwork Orange is at least more exciting. It's like...
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
In a way, and like, the world building is also crazy in
Yes,
it too.
it is.
But, nope, yeah, so Clockwork Orange is definitely going to be my pick for that one. And now we're going to go even deeper by talking about these, our favorites, basically, through our next category.
Yes, what the real podcast is about.
Yes.
What the real episode's about.
Right after this break. Break. Now we get to the main segment of our episode, which is basically we thought it would be a good way to introduce our tastes in movies, and also using the Oscars, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. I don't even know when it's actually when it actually is anymore, but
it's like
coming up soon.
2 Sundays from now, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe.
So not this coming Sunday, but the next Sunday. And so we thought we'd use the Oscar traditional categories. But instead of just picking movies from the year, we're going to just pick from our all-time favorite movies. And using the categories as a springboard, you can kind of see our taste based on this to some degree. And also, I'm just curious from knowing both of these people for a while, if we're going to have any matching picks, because we haven't talked about that part yet. So I'm curious about that. So we're going to start with some of the... not lesser categories, but the categories that we just are probably going to spend a little less
categories
time
that
on.
are getting cut from the Oscars,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, honestly.
They're
yeah,
being shown
okay.
off screen. I mean, they don't care.
That doesn't
about
mean we
it.
value
It's
them
so
less,
annoying,
but yeah, that doesn't mean we value them less technically.
annoying
But
as hell.
There's just not a lot to talk about.
yeah, we don't want to spend like an insane amount of time on every single category, obviously.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start with best makeup and hair. And Blake, what do you have with that?
All right, so for this one, these ones actually are really hard for me, but I narrowed it down to 3, and the 3 I chose, I'm gonna choose one, but the three I actually thought of were Hero, The Color of Pomegranates, and The Face of Another. And I think I'm gonna choose The Color of Pomegranates for best hair and makeup because that movie has some insane hair and makeup. The whole movie is basically just. It's about the poet Sayat Nova. He's an Armenian poet from the 18th century, and it's about kind of just how a poet views the world and how that leads them to make their poems, basically. And the way this is filmed it's gorgeous, man. The hair and makeup is gorgeous. The production design is gorgeous.
So what's specific about the hair and makeup, though?
I honestly wish that we had video for this because the video.
So
I could just show you the picture of the main lady on the
if
Criterion
you have your phone
channel.
on you, just Google images.
Yeah, you'll understand why I chose best hair and makeup for this one because they even dress up their horses, man. Like, oh my goodness, the horses are
there
awesome.
You go. That's
like,
a specific reason. That's a good reason to look that up now.
It's really good. That's why I chose for that category.
Okay. I haven't seen the movie. I know Luke has seen it, right?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Do you stand by what he said though in terms of hair and makeup?
Yeah, it's definitely That's definitely a standout in the movie.
Okay,
I'd say.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what about yours now?
For my best makeup and hairstyling, this one was tough because it's usually something I don't really pay attention to very much. But the movie that it's more hairstyling in my opinion. Really, I mean, I'm sure there is makeup involved, but I think the hairstyling is mainly what I thought of. It was In the Mood for Love.
Yes, that was also what I was
Yeah.
thinking of for this.
Okay.
Mainly because I mean, Tony Leung and Maggie Chung in that movie.
Okay.
Those are some beautiful people. I'm not
They
gonna
are.
lie. I mean,
They are.
and their hair, like, it's just you can just see if you've seen the movie, you know. I mean, it's just their hair is like it's
Perfect,
it's
dude.
Perfect.
It's
yeah,
perfect.
Perfection.
Plus, the next category, I'll just spoil the next category we have coming up is best costume design.
Yes,
I did think
the
about
fits
that
they're
as well.
wearing, like especially
The
what
fits they're wearing, dude, it's great.
Magic Chung wears in that movie.
Yeah.
Like
A
that
different
combines
dress basically
basically
every scene, dude.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
It's hard to have a movie with bad costume design and good hair makeup or something.
Oh,
So
yeah.
obviously, but
It's
no,
insane.
yeah, that's a good pick. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Especially since my pick is like the other extreme of hair and makeup, which is I have it written down here as Lord of the Rings trilogy. I feel like that counts as one big movie.
okay.
That counts as one big movie. It's all
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
the same people doing it anyway.
Dude.
So,
Great
But-
pick. Yes.
like because obviously there's some CG in it for sure, but like that's the key with doing really good CG is you actually still have to put the effort into the actual production of what's on set too, what you're actually filming, which is part of hair and makeup. Compared to I don't know if like I'm sure there's some Twitter people here like if they've seen all the Marvel green screen caps that have been coming out, like just for like normal ass conversations, they'll just be like a green screen in a house or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Compared to the level of detail in this movie.
I just remember, especially from Two Towers, whenever the Orcai are being born in Saruman's temple. I don't know if you remember this,
I don't
but
know.
like the
I
Uruk-hai
haven't
are literally
seen it.
breaking out of the eggs basically, and they're so grimy, so dirty, so disgusting looking. You're like, oh my god,
And,
because
like-
it's all hair. That's all makeup.
Yes.
Like that's not CG. That's
Yes.
all makeup, and that was insane.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Like I was thinking more just the battles,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
and like because even like all the some of the orcs are like CG and stuff, but you do see a lot of them up close.
You do.
And like all of that is hair and makeup, obviously. A lot of makeup, but
All makeup, basically.
but yeah. So that's basically my pick for hair and makeup. We'll go to the next one, costume design. Like I said, it was kind of similar.
Okay.
So,
Costume design for me. I mean, Hero and The Color of Pomegranates were also in the running for this one, but I had to choose for this one Kagemusha
Okay.
because
Yeah.
the costumes in that are
Okay.
so Kagemusha is based on real life. Like all these clans actually exist in Japan, and Kurosawa literally made all their garbs match what they're supposed to match, like and stuff like that, like all the clans and stuff. It's awesome. And that's one of the reasons why I love that. That's one of the reasons why that's my favorite Kurosawa movie, honestly.
Damn,
And-
that's a big reveal. I did not see that.
yeah, no, it is. It's okay. It's hard to say which one's my favorite. I got
That's tough.
like
It's like
top three,
changed on the
top
day.
4,
Yeah.
but it's
They're all
the- that's one of the main reasons why I love that movie, because it shows that period of Japan in a real light.
Which
like,
period? Oh,
It was the Sengoku period.
okay. Yeah. I could see like, admittedly, I don't know as much. Obviously, you know way more about Japanese history than I do, and I could see like, because obviously he was making that for a Japanese audience that would obviously know the history way better than someone like me watching it now. So I could see someone that knows the history way more, just being able to appreciate all the flags that are in it, all the different colors of the different clans and things like that. And
like you guys were saying that you didn't know that they were that colorful, and they are that colorful. They were that colorful in real life.
Awesome.
Like.
Probably not,
It's
the best
pretty
for,
cool.
probably not the best for battle tactics.
No, probably not the best. But
style over substance. Come on.
yes.
But all right, Luke, what's yours? Costume design.
Well, for this one, I originally was just like thinking of movies like period pieces, like old time period pieces, like Kagemusha, but more like Barry Lyndon,
It's a good one.
like stuff like Pride and Prejudice, that kind of movies. But then I saw this movie and I thought about it and I was like, wait, this movie has like amazing costume design, and that movie is Do the Right Thing.
It does, dude.
Oh.
It does.
Yeah,
it does
and,
have amazing.
I mean,
costume
there's so
design.
many like iconic props in there, like Mookie, like everything Mookie wears, like the Dodger jersey, Radio Raheem's, like Love and Hate Knuckles
Love and Hate,
from
dude.
900,
Yeah.
the Hunter, like his boombox,
Yes.
the Jordans. I mean, there's
all the details
Yeah.
are like next level.
it's just so it just pops out at you, really. I mean,
it's a great pick, man.
be honest, if I think it honestly helps the movie too. It just it helps it get the style it's going for.
Definitely.
And it just I mean, that's
a great pick.
yeah.
That is a great pick. One I wasn't expecting, but I love it.
And that's a good when you brought up with the knuckles that he wears.
Yeah.
The brass. What are they called?
I don't even know what you call it.
But
Yeah,
you
brass
know what I'm
knuckles.
talking about. I guess they're brass knuckles, but they're gold. In the movie.
Yeah.
But like that's a part of costume design, right? Like that's a more natural costume design than like you were saying more
And
compared to like a period
also,
piece or something like that.
it also
which
helps
is
that it's a direct reference to one of my favorite movies, Night of the Hunter. Because in Night of the Hunter,
I see. I didn't know that.
the preacher in that movie has love and hate tattooed on his knuckles. And he does the same story that Radio Raheem does. Because Spike Lee has said he loves Night of the Hunter. So
Damn.
yeah, that's part of the reason why I love that
I really
aspect
do.
of it so much.
It's crazy. I almost at the video store we have vintage stock over here. I almost bought the Do the Right Thing Criterion,
Oh,
which they had. It's a great cover they have.
It is a great.
It's a
Yeah,
big
that's
box set,
cool.
or it's not a box set, but it's a box. Like,
yeah, it's cool design.
No, because I haven't watched that movie in a while. So, but all right, I'll go to mine now. And like me and Blake were talking about this before the episode, how I had just had a bunch of movie names written down for each category, but I hadn't actually picked a lot of them yet, and this was one of them. So I'm just going off the fly right now, and I've been thinking about while we've been talking too, but I have to go with The Hard to Be a God.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
It's like this old Russian sci-fi movie from. Not old actually. It's from.
It's not old. Yeah, it's like 2014.
2014.
I feel like.
Yeah, but from Alexei
2015.
German, Russian director. He didn't make that many movies, but it's kind of like it's one of those things where you kind of have to look it up, just like look up stills from it. But the basic backstory is it's a sci-fi movie in terms of it's these people from Earth going to a foreign planet, but that planet is basically like humans, what humans lived like in the 13th century. So in a way, he's going back in time, but it's it's like sci-fi in terms of they're going to study another planet. And when he gets there, he's just like immersed in the village, the village setting immediately, and it's all black and white, but it's like really heavy and it's always raining and muddy.
Russian.
Yeah, it's like it's Russian, but it's also very like okay. It depends on what you mean by that, though. That could be all types of.
It's
Russian
very
movies.
bleak.
Okay, bleak. Yes. Okay, in mood. Yes. But I'm saying in terms of like the way the movie sets are, and the costumes are and everything.
Yes, no,
Like,
it feels very real. It feels
yes.
like what peasants wore.
It's
back
honestly-
then. back in actual like 13th century.
Yes, it's like you can tell they put a lot of thought in terms because there's some small differences here and there in terms like that's not human. That's not a human thing, obviously. Like the way they act, but also the way they dress and everything. So, and honestly, I just wanted to mention that movie because I had it for a few categories and I just realized I'm not going to name it for anything else. So like, okay, I have to put this in there.
It's true.
Because my other pick was going to be Fantastic Mr. Fox. That's who I was. That was kind of who.
That's
I was
a good
debating.
one.
Yeah,
That's a really good one.
that's
Yeah.
fair,
No, because the way they, just dressing up puppets like that, but making them look kind of natural is honestly harder than it probably looks. So,
It is probably.
let's see. The next category I have on the list is best sound. And I guess there's a lot of ways you can go with this.
Oh yeah.
We were
So,
talking about all the
yes.
different ways you go with this.
So-
Like, there's literally Star Wars, stuff like that. The pew pew pew. No, I mean, there's Lord of the Rings. There's the subtle
Transformers,
movies.
I always have-
There's
I have to
very
mention
subtle
that,
Like
movies.
Transformers.
Tarkovsky, you know, like
Very subtle
Yeah.
movies. But the one that I think this one's hard. So what I think about for best sound, what I like best in my movies is something like something more relaxing, like a Nine Suk, which is it's by an Indian director named Amit Duda, and it's literally just him recreating the paintings of this Mughal painter Nine Suk. And that movie's sound design is so relaxing and peaceful because he's literally trying to make you see what Nine Suk was seeing whenever he painted these paintings, and how he was hearing the world and what made him come up with and just how he painted basically. That's what he wanted to show. And I think that's what I'm going to choose. That's why I like most of my sound design. That's why I really like I was really thinking about Apachatpong, Where Side the Cool movies. Like, he's got some very relaxing sounds in all of his movies. I was really thinking of Embrace the Serpent, which I just watched recently. That one's also got amazing sound design.
Yeah,
And it
I
also
forgot
is
about
very
that,
similar
yeah.
to Thin Red Line, which I was also thinking about because that one's sound design is also immaculate.
And
showing like the oppressiveness of the jungle is
Yes.
very impressive in that movie. But I had
certain
to go
moments
with
are really loud,
yes.
and then other moments are really.
But you
silent.
always hear the jungle. You always hear the jungle in that movie.
yeah, you could say any.
It's
Terrence
an
Malick
always
movie.
it's an oppressive
Oh,
it's an
any-
oppressive force that you
Yes.
always feel in that movie, and that's why I like that movie a lot too. But I had to go with Nine Suk because that's the one I think
Okay,
about all the
okay.
time whenever
Yeah,
it comes
yeah.
to best sound design.
I still need to watch that, dude. So.
Yeah.
All right, Luke. What's your best sound?
Well, this one was sort of easy but hard for me because I knew which director I wanted to go with, but picking which movie from that director was ridiculously hard.
Oh, okay.
And the director that for sound that I immediately thought of was one of my favorite directors, Jacques Tati.
Oh.
Because in every Tati, if you've seen a Tati movie, you know,
Yes.
like David Lynch said, if you turn off the sound in a Jacques Tati movie, you're missing half the comedy and just half the entertainment in general. And well, in every Tati movie, that's just very obvious. It's amazing how he just does just his sound effects are just so. I don't know how to explain it. They're just so
Yes. I'm thinking about when you said that, I'm thinking about just all the weird noises in playtime
yeah.
when he's going through all the exhibits and stuff. It's they're subtle, but because the exhibits have these weird
Yeah, there's
all these kinds of weird different little technology they have
Yeah,
back in the
little
60s.
trinkets, yeah.
These trinket technologies, but they have these cool ass sounds.
yeah. And well, I didn't actually pick Playtime.
Oh, okay.
I
Okay. Yeah, you didn't pick the movie yet. You didn't pick the
okay.
movie yet.
I picked Monsieur Hood's Holiday
Oh.
because
Oh.
the way his sound of the tourists and what Monsieur Hewlett's getting into, it's so comedic, and I especially love the sound of the door opening and closing, the boing kind of sound, and I love the when the raft closes in on itself and it makes the chomping noise when it turns into a shark. I mean, it's top tier comedy. I mean, I could talk about Tati forever, but
honestly, that's an amazing pick because it's like a silent movie. In terms of obviously he's paying a lot of homage to a lot of the silent greats, but
he's
he
adding his
uses
own
sound.
spin on it, yeah.
But sound, obviously that's makes it different than a silent movie.
True,
But
yeah.
he's using the sound as a silent comment, as part of the silent movie style, which is yeah, that's a really good pick because I always thought you were gonna say Playtime or Traffic or Traffic.
Traffic does have really good sound.
Great
all
sound,
his movies
great
do.
sound.
I mean, yeah, even Shorty.
I mean, and obviously if you're gonna have a great movie, it's probably one of the most underrated aspects of movies is just thinking about the sound design of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, because it is a visual medium, but the sound is so important into getting you into the movie. Making you feel like you're there, kind of thing. Just from the back, like you said, the jungle and Thin Red Line, or just all the horns you hear in Traffic. You can't even think about the movie without thinking of that right away, literally. So.
And just the sound of the cars driving,
Yes.
it's just amazing.
And for my pick, I'm also going to go with the Indian movie by an Indian director. And I watched this the other day, which solidified it for me. What is Drupad by Mani Kaul, and it's his documentary he did on the Hindustani traditional music called Drupad, which existed since the 12th or 13th century. I forget the exact.
Sounds
name,
amazing.
but
Honestly.
yeah. And the reason why I picked this is because Monty Call, the director, he has obviously made a documentary about it, but he has a huge respect for that musical tradition. And so, like I said, film is originally a visual medium, but so then you could tell he put a lot of thought into how am I going to make a movie about obviously music, the Drupal music, but still make it feel like a movie. And so the way the movie is edited in terms of he's basically at this ancient site where they used to play music, but he's there with the one of the teachers that was living at this movie was made in the '83. So a teacher that used to teach us music that was living in '83. He kind of interviews them throughout the movie, but most of the movie is you hear the music being played for like 10-15 minutes at a time, and sometimes you're just straight on shots of the guy playing, but a lot of times he's just floating around the environment of where they're playing. And he's going in and out of the hallways and outside, inside, and he's trying to make you feel like what it would have felt like being like a king or one of those royalty listening to that kind of music
cool,
in that environment.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, because I rewatched it, and by the end of the movie, I was like, I definitely felt like that. I was kind of, he gets you in that zone, and this is the best part about it. It's not because of the visual images. It's because of the music. That's why it's good. It's like he's letting the music do all the carrying, basically.
Yeah.
Which in a movie is, and it's a documentary, so obviously he has that advantage to it. But
Yeah, I actually thought of when I was thinking about best sound, I thought of another Indian movie about music. Really, I thought of The Music Room.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a good pick.
That's a very good one too.
Yes, that's a good pick. Similar themes, very similar themes, and Music Room has scenes like that.
Oh yeah.
Where he just lets the music play, obviously.
Yeah,
Without even listening. Yeah, that's good. And we're gonna talk about Satyajit Ray coming out.
Oh, don't worry.
But yeah, Drupal, my pick. So now let's go to honestly one of my favorite categories. Or actually, we'll skip that. We'll go to production design next.
Wow.
Wow.
This is one of my favorite categories.
Okay. Obviously, I like production design. Don't get me wrong, but still.
This is the thing that gets you into movies, man. This is the thing that keeps you in the world. This is what good movies need to have, honestly.
That's a good. Okay. All right. So then, all right, Blake, go. What's your production design?
Oh, this one's so hard, man. I had so many different ones for this, but this is the problem. I'm not choosing it beforehand. I'm having a hard time. I'm going to go with Metropolis.
Metropolis.
Okay, yeah,
okay.
Fritz Lang's Metropolis. I'm going to be perfectly honest. The first time I watched this movie, I hated it. Like, I didn't like it. I mean, the thing with silent movies is you kind of have to spend time with them to appreciate them and to actually get the flow of a silent movie, because it's completely different from from what movies today are like, obviously, because it was 100 years ago. But Metropolis's design, their production design on that is literally insane. The set designs, like how they built their sets to show what they thought the future would look like, and they are obviously, I don't know how far along in the future this was set, but they're probably kind of right in a lot of ways, honestly, at least in the way capitalism treats its workers and its stuff like that. And I just think of that big pyramid, or not the pyramid, but the big face, that the mouth comes down and the stairs come out, and you see all those people walking up there to go to work. Oh, you haven't seen it? Oh, okay.
It's long.
When I think of when I think of the production design movie, I think of the shot of the skyscrapers. The iconic shot of that's what I think of, and then you see the behind the scene pictures of it. It's a miniature set, which is crazy.
It is. It's so good. But that's literally what I think about, though, is that face, because it's showing what this oppressive situation is doing to your workers, and how it and what like this company thinks of, or this society thinks of workers like that, and the production, it's 1927. The production design keeps you in the world. It keeps you completely immersed, and I really just love that movie.
Also, an underrated score.
Very underrated score.
That score is amazing.
But there were a lot of other movies I had in contention for this one. Like Red Cliff is insane. Kagemusha. Like Red Cliff is basically the Chinese version. Okay, it's not the Chinese version of Kagemusha, but it's a big Chinese battle. It's like one of the biggest battles in Chinese history, and it was the production design is that. Yes, it's the production design is that, and that is insane. John Carpenter's They Live was one of mine.
No, honestly, John Carpenter he has
Very
some great
underrated his
design,
production
yes.
design. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Blade Runner were also in my
Blade Runner,
my
or the better one,
runner-ups.
Blade Runner 2049.
Stop it. Okay.
I didn't want to say that earlier when you were going on how great Blade Runner was.
It is
but I
great.
had to get that in there at some point.
Okay.
All right, Luke. What's yours? Production
Well,
design?
it's funny you say this is your hardest category because this was the easiest one for me.
In terms of just like you knew for sure, right?
Yeah, I just knew.
Okay.
It's
Is
just it's playtime.
Yeah,
I mean,
knew it,
come
I
on.
knew it.
It's
that's
how
a good,
could you not?
It's a great pick.
I
It's
mean,
a great pick. You have to.
the
I haven't seen it, so
Even though
that's
the
how
only reason I
feel.
thought you might not pick that was because I thought you might save that for one of our later categories,
well,
He's like it's
there
going to
is-
be
there
a
is
Best Picture,
categories.
like Best Picture or something.
But I mean, there's nothing to say about. I mean, it's like he brings you into this like near future world of Paris. It feels so cartoony yet so like introspective yet so like
contradictory, almost like contradictory emotions, almost.
yeah.
Like-
It's just something you have to really see. I can't. It's
Yeah.
hard to describe in words on like how like he does it. But there's just so many details of it, especially I mean with the extras and as well with like the props and any Tati movie really could be best production design. I mean.
No,
Man.
great way to watch a Tati movie is just look at everything that's going on in the background.
Oh yeah, don't even look at.
You don't even
Oscar
have to
Wilde.
watch him. Like obviously he's just, and that's what makes his character so great is that he's not overdoing it.
Yeah.
He's not even trying to draw too much attention.
And I'm gonna
to
talk about
himself.
that more later.
Okay,
Too,
all right,
so.
okay, there we go. We got him. All right, so honestly, okay, yeah, this is definitely one I have to pick. Best production design because I don't have another Kurosawa movie later. I don't think.
Oh,
So I have to
no.
pick. I have to pick Dreams.
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
a
mean,
great
come on.
great one to
Yes.
pick. It's okay. Kurosawa will
Because
be rest.
it's if you don't know what Dreams is, it's Kurosawa's movie that he made about I think it's 6 parts, so 6 dreams he had over the course of his life, 6 various dreams, and he just filmed them, and obviously in ways only Kurosawa could do with the huge widescreen and everything. But like, it's kind of cheating because compared to a typical Kurosawa, which is one Kurosawa, this one's kind of like 6 mini ones,
Yes.
so you get 6
Yeah.
little sets kind of thing.
He's 6 amazing sets.
Yes, but like even like some of the stories that people don't like in them, like as much like the Snow Story one, a lot of people don't like. I've seen, but
It is definitely slow, I would say.
there's some
Yeah.
definitely slower scenes, but all of them have great sets.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, for sure. Especially the last one. That's my favorite because it reminds me of a town in a Pokemon
the
game.
Water
Actually,
Village one.
yeah,
Yes.
it reminds me of a
Oh, okay.
Pacific Log Town from Pokemon. If you've ever
Yes.
played Pokemon, but yeah, I love that one.
Honestly, yes. I could. Damn, it does have a Pokemon vibe to it.
Yeah, it's especially.
But honestly, that's a compliment. I mean that as a compliment.
I
Obviously.
mean, that's a
that was my pick.
compliment.
So. No, but and I always think about the first one with the trees, the peach trees.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's
of
the
course.
that's the
Yes,
one
and,
best for sure.
And I can't if you're gonna watch the movie, I can't recommend the Making of Dreams documentary, and that's probably partly why I'm picking the movie too because I've seen the Making of documentary, which is directed by Obayashi.
Okay, yeah.
It's him interviewing Kurosawa and mixed into it. It's the making of behind the scenes, and you see a lot of like how much obviously like all these huge set movies, like how much work goes into it and stuff, like how many flowers they actually have to fly to make it look like there's flowers floating across the screen, that kind of thing.
It's insane.
But yeah, I have to pick Dreams because I don't think I have a Kurosawa coming up, and he's one of my all-time favorite directors. Which
Doesn't sound like it. No, I'm just
You
kidding.
know, I actually don't think I have a Kurosawa down, to be honest.
we didn't want to sound too basic.
That kind of pains me, but I mean, yeah, there's
No.
other directors out there. I mean, we got to talk about them.
Kurosawa's not basic
None better
too.
than Kurosawa,
Yeah.
though. No.
Because like Seven Samurai obviously is like an all-time production design. It would be
Yes, it
too
is.
obvious at some point.
It would be too obvious.
But
for sure.
Dreams is definitely it's like Blake said earlier with Kakemusha, that time is my favorite Kurosawa movie. So, all right, now we'll go to the category I was about to mention earlier, which I like more. Best film editing, because obviously, editing is
This
such
is where movies are made.
yes,
Yeah.
where the movies are made in the editing room. So, all right, Blake, what's your best editing?
So this one, I mean, it was very hard, but the reason it wasn't as hard for me is because I saw a movie very recently from the French New Wave called Zazie dans les Métros, and the editing in this movie is some of the most ridiculous editing I think I've ever seen. It doesn't always work, but the fact that he tried it, and the fact that he made this movie that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it does make sense because of the editing, and it feels so frantic because of the editing. But it's it just all works because of that, and that's honestly one of the only reasons I'd recommend watching this movie, because I don't really particularly like the movie that much, because I find the characters like almost insufferable. But I think that's honestly because I came off of a long shift at work. I think if I was like less tired, I would have liked the actual movie more. But the editing in the movie was immaculate, man. And I showed you guys a few scenes from it, and I know that Luke said that he could see Wes Anderson taking a lot of.
Oh yeah, just the quirkiness vibe of it. Yeah,
it is a very quirky movie, and it's a French New Wave movie. I don't think I said it was directed by. It was Louis Maillet, but that's the one I feel like I kind of had to choose because it's the one that. Well, it's the one that I watched recently. It stood out to me. It stood out to me a lot whenever I was watching it. Just all these different techniques that hadn't really been done before this movie, and yeah, that's the one I'm going with. So.
Well,
which one's yours?
Well, for my best editing pick, I'm gonna stay with the French New Wave along with Blake, and I'm gonna pick a Godard movie, one that I actually watched pretty recently and I loved, Masculine and Feminine. If you ever seen a Godard movie, you know, just like he can just like have some crazy edits out there, and that's just kind of what he does in this movie. He kind of just like throws stuff at the wall, and it just works, you know.
So it's one of those movies where, you know, he just gets hot from 3, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And like my favorite part of the editing is he'll have these like random, like, you know, the slides from silent movies. He'll like just like randomly put them on the screen, and it will say something. Like one of my favorites is one of them says, "You can call this movie. This movie can be called The Children of Marx and Coca-Cola." Like he just says some like it's just an amazing, like, it just works, you know. Somehow it works. He does it. I don't know how he did it, but really the only Godard movie I really love too. I mean,
so far,
yeah, true. Far. But I've been through quite a bit. Okay. But yeah, that's definitely my pick.
Okay. This is another one of those categories where I was waiting last moment, like, and we talked about this before. We actually started recording when we were talking about some of the categories. At least we didn't spoil everything, but I guess I'm going to stay with this one because it is one of the first one that comes to my mind. Is Casino by Scorsese.
Yeah.
And I guess editing is one of those categories. I guess, and honestly, you could say that about any of these categories in terms of, it makes you like the ones that are more that you've seen more recently.
Yes.
Stick in your head more in some of these more specific categories. You know, so I saw Casino like a couple months ago, and I just remember after watching it thinking like, how is a movie that long? It just like feels so short, you know. And it has like so many different characters in it, but it still feels like it has a consistent through line in it, even though it has like so many major characters in it that you feel like you're getting their rise and fall basically, like, and then it's seen through the lens of the casino industry, you know, rising and falling in Vegas. But just to speak by the editing more specifically, like, just making a 3-hour movie that long, obviously a lot of Scorsese movies, you could say this about a lot of Scorsese movies, right, in terms
like
of
Goodfellas, you know, especially,
because it's one thing to make a fast-paced movie.
I mean, like Wolf of Wall Street, even, it's just that
literally
doesn't feel like 3 hours. That's what everyone says about it.
Yes.
It's because of that.
Yes, but honestly, I feel like Casino even more than Goodfellas. I mean, not
sure.
Goodfellas, even or Goodfellas, but also, like you said, Wolf of Wall Street. Just in terms of, it's one thing to make a fast-paced movie. Like a lot of the French New Wave movies we've been watching recently, those are fast-paced. Some of them,
yes,
but they're, you know, most of them are an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. You know,
yeah.
But a 3-hour movie that feels, even when you come out of it, it's like, oh, I didn't feel like it dragged really. To me, at all, Casino's not drag. So, yeah, just not making a movie drag that feels like 3 hours alone, let alone the story in it, is impressive
hard,
enough. Yeah. So I have to go with Casino. Next category. I guess this is our last technical category before we get to some of the more just main categories. Is best visual effects.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to go with this one because there's
because
practical CGI. There's literally so many different effects, and the one that I had 2001 and Mad Max on this list because I think both of those visual effects are incredible. But the one that I'm going with is more subdued than that, and it is The Face of Another.
Oh. Okay.
And the reason I'm going with Face of Another for visual effects is because I honestly don't know how they made this mask look so much like Tatsuya Nakadai. dude. Like, because there are some scenes in this where he's taking the mask off and then he pauses halfway through and he's talking and the mask still looks like him. And I'm like, how did they make this mask look so lifelike, man? It's so insane. And then at the very end, there's a specific scene at the very end where everyone is walking with just faceless masks because the doctor wants to, because he hates what he's created, basically. And that alone, that visual effect alone is one of the best I think I've ever seen in just movies in general, because it's so good. And this movie, just in general, was amazing. And one of the main reasons for me is the visual effects, because it's honestly crazy what they did with that, with the makeup. I mean, maybe I should have put in makeup also, because I like hair and makeup, because that was also insane. But like that mask, man, I don't know what they did, but it was insane.
Okay, that's a good pick. Yeah. I was not thinking about that for visual effects, but yeah, like making you feel like.
Yeah, I mean, like the other, like I could have gone with the Thing, even like all those practical effects in the Thing were just insane. Yes. But like I like practical effects more, so that's why 2001 was on there. Like that's why I would choose something like 2001 or The Face of Another more so than Mad Max, because I like practical more than CGI. But Mad Max is one that I think is the best of that.
And it combines the two, obviously.
Like Fury Road,
Mad Max does.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It combines both amazingly.
Well, I went with the obvious. I just went with 2001. So
okay, and just so we can talk about the same time, I'm also going 2001.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, that was the obvious one. We had it all on our list. Yeah. That's why I went with The Face of Another also.
And honestly, it's fitting. Like, and this is part of the reason why I picked it, is because it's the only Oscar Kubrick ever won too.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the only Oscar ever won.
I mean, it sounds right.
It was for visual effects. 2001 one. It didn't win.
Yeah, I think I did.
So, yeah.
Tragedy, that was the only one, but
I don't know. I kind of like it just because like. You know, I didn't want the Oscars giving him too much credit. Then you would know he's not a good director then. No. But yeah, so 2001, it's almost too obvious to pick.
I mean, yeah, I can.
And we just talked about it earlier, so we won't talk about it.
Mainly when I think about visual effects, though, in that movie, I just think of like the ending sequence, you know, like and like the Stargate.
Yes, the Stargate.
That's pretty much like that's just.
Yes. I honestly, for visual effects in that one, I even just think of them like walking along in their like little pods, like where they sleep, and because it's always going around, you know, just in a circle, and they're just walking along.
All practical too.
All practical, still amazing.
Yeah. That's actually.
There's just so many.
Good production design. I didn't
it is good. Oh yeah, no, 2000 was in production.
Okay, and bouncing off that, I'll name my favorite, most just the one scene I think about a lot for visual effects, or at least one of them, is. Do you remember the scene where he's in the airplane? Or not the airplane, the spaceship going to the moon.
Oh yeah,
and with the pen.
Oh yeah,
with the pen floating, and how that's all practical. In terms of like they're just using like a clear glass, and like with clear tape taped to a pen, and it looks like it's floating. You know, just something simple like that, but it looks so real. Like it's like, oh, he lost his pen, it's floating. But just doing that, because now you would just do that on a computer, and it would actually look probably good.
Yeah.
You know? But doing that in the '60s. Just a little detail like that.
Yeah, ahead of his time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's still ahead of his time. So. All right. Which one should we do next?
You said best short, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Best short. Honestly, this is a big category for me. I love shorts too.
I really like
seen
shorts.
As I should have.
I need to watch more for sure. My shorts are. I love a lot of shorts, but these are the ones that I love the most, honestly. I only had 4 that were in consideration for me, and that was one of them was a Japanese puppet kaiju movie called Howl from Beyond the Fog. The other one of them was about a thespian poet reciting like a play, like he was just continuing to like recite these plays or like this play, and it was by Amit Duda, and he's just reciting these plays completely silently, and then at the very end it just gets very, very loud. It's just a very interesting movie. Another one is Walker, and that's the one I'm actually gonna choose. Is Walker. Okay. Tsai Ming-liang's Walker.
Oh, Tsai Ming-liang.
And the reason I'm choosing this one is because nowadays it is very hard for people to slow down, like just slow your brains down, because we live in such a fast-paced world where we are always on our phones, always looking for the next thing. Like we're always trying to do something. And what I like so much about Walker is he literally takes that and forces you to watch this one dude, Lee Kong-sheng, walk so fucking slow the entire movie for literally 35 minutes. This dude is just literally walking at a snail's pace through, I think it's Tokyo, but I can't remember. I think it's Tokyo. But I love this movie because he's literally telling people with this movie to slow down. Like, he's dressed as a monk. He's trying to get people to realize that going fast is not all there is in life. And you see, and some of my favorite shots in this movie are just people looking at Li Kong-shing and going like, "What is this guy doing?" Like, like they're walking around going like looking back like all confused, like, why is this guy walking like at snail's pace with his arm up with his groceries and stuff like that? And I'm just like, I love this movie, man, because he took something that's so prevalent in today's society and forced you to slow down. If you watch this movie, he forced you to slow down. I don't know if a lot of people finish this movie, but
so basically you picked a long short film.
It's 35 minutes.
No, in terms of feeling long.
Yes, it feels long though. But I love that short.
I need to watch. I've only seen a few of his movies, so I know.
I really love that short.
Yeah, well, mine was pretty easy because there's really only one other movie in contention, and it was another Tati movie, School for Postmen. Great short. I recommend it, but the one that really just like, I mean, this one that made the biggest impact on me was Night and Fog, directed by Alain Resnais. It's so like powerful because it's about the Holocaust, but the way he does it, he visits the what were made like in the current when the movie was made. He goes to like where the concentration camp was and like film footage, but then like also had archive footage with it, and it just some of the images in that movie were just like they're stuck in my mind forever. Like there's one of like women's like a bunch of women's hair that's like terrifying. Like when you look at it, and there's like
it's one of those you have to watch it.
It
definitely.
it's just so powerful.
It's really depressing, but it's a powerful. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
but
it's a powerful short film. 1956. You mentioned when it was made. It was made 11 years after.
Yeah, they like go to the
it's not that far away,
camp.
long away. But
yeah.
no, and I remember, and that had a huge impact at the time too when it came out. That short film did. And I guess I'll transition to mine, which is a movie by an experimental filmmaker from the 40s in New York, Maya Deren. She made this movie called Meshes of the Afternoon. It was basically, she made a few short films, like 7 or 8. This one was, I think, her first. I'm pretty sure this was her first. And it's probably her most popular one. But like, it was ahead of its time, in my opinion. It was ahead of its time in a lot of ways in terms of doing an amazing job of using film editing. And it's like, let me check how long it was. It's only 14 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But the way it just gets you into her. By the end of the movie, you don't know if it's a dream or if it's a real world in terms of a way only a movie can do. In terms of with its editing, right? Yeah. But she was doing this in the 40s, and with 14 minutes and like not a huge budget.
Yeah.
But I don't want to spoil anything, because honestly, this is probably the easiest ones to go back and look up and watch.
Just watch them
right?
on YouTube,
right? Short films, yeah.
It can honestly be in contention for best visual effects too. I feel.
Oh yeah, especially for the time, yeah. And like what she was working with, but yeah, I would just honestly I want to mention this because I would definitely recommend her, and like I've spent a lot of time watching her movies, and she wrote a lot too about movies, which is awesome. So I would definitely recommend. Let's see, what's the next one we should do? Best score.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
You missed best documentary.
Oh, best documentary.
Yeah.
I missed a few actually. Okay, we'll go best documentary. This is one of my favorites too. So
this is a good one. I'm going to mention the ones that I had before because I actually want to. Before I mention the one that I'm actually going to choose. So one of them is Koshin, Japan's Field of Dreams. It's literally just a documentary about following these high school baseball teams trying to get to what Japan's Field of Dreams is, which is Koshin, which is like their big tournament. And they hold that, I think, in Tokyo or Kanto, maybe. I can't remember. But it's an amazing documentary. Not what won. One of the other ones I had was Taming the Garden, which is a very recent documentary by a Georgian filmmaker about their prime minister transplanting these huge trees that had been there and they're in these communities for so long and moving them for money and stuff like that. And it's just about all the displacement that the Georgian people are feeling right now. But the one that I'm actually choosing is The Kingdom of Dreams and Sadness, which is the documentary about Studio Ghibli.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And This documentary, I just love this documentary because I love Studio Ghibli and I love to see what happened inside Studio Ghibli. How was Hayao Miyazaki? How was Isao Takahata? Like, how were all these people like making their movies and stuff like that? And this movie, it delivers, dude. And it is a kingdom of dreams and madness because these guys were insane. Hayao Miyazaki is an insane man. He is freaking insane.
I love the scene where he was talking to the cat.
Yes.
And I was like, you have no schedule.
You have no schedule. Like, this guy is just so crazy, man. I really love that movie, and I had to get some Studio Ghibli in there because I honestly still don't know what's going with my animated features, so I wanted to at least mention them in this, in my documentary.
And make sure Danny
that's
doesn't hate
what I
on it.
think. Yeah, make sure Danny doesn't hate on it. So
I'm not going to hate on him. But no, in that documentary, I've seen that documentary in a lot of books before. It does look good. For sure.
It's a great. It's my favorite documentary that I've watched, and I've rewatched it once, and it's one that I'm going to rewatch multiple times in my life.
All right, Luke.
Well, it really came down to two for me. The other one was Close Up. Well, and the reason I didn't pick it, I think I like Close Up better than this movie that I picked. It's just that it kind of just blends the line between it, and I also picked it for a later category. So I was like, I might as well give a shout to this one. So my best documentary is Koyaanisqatsi. I believe both of you haven't seen it, right?
It doesn't sound familiar.
It's a movie basically composed of images, just images and a score with no dialogue, no story. It films like the environment, like it films the nature and like the urban city, and like it's really interesting, and it's hard to explain like how what it's saying. It kind of talks about like the relationship between humans and technology, and
only through images.
Yeah, only through images, and the score is like top notch. Almost was my pick for original score, but and you just need to watch it.
Didn't you watched that Malick produced Netflix movie isn't it kind of similar?
Yeah, it's definitely not as
good.
Yeah, it's definitely not as good. Some of the images in that movie
but
you're talking about, it's called Awaken.
Awaken, okay.
Yeah,
because maybe people have heard of that one.
Yeah, it's not very popular, I don't think. It had some good images, but it wasn't as good. Nowhere near as good as this movie. This movie is, you just need to watch it. Really, I can't really explain how good it is to you, but yeah.
Okay. I was going between two. I'll mention the one I was going to pick first, which is a straight documentary, The Act of Killing.
I haven't seen that one.
Neither of you seen that?
No, I haven't.
I'll just mention that briefly. It's like about this in Indonesia. Is it Indonesia? I'm pretty sure it's Indonesia. Let me check. But it's about this murder gangster squad that was in the 90s and 80s, 90s, 2000s. That basically, kind of with the help of the government, but basically killed a lot of people, and they're basically free now because that government is still in power. And it blends fiction and reality because he gets these people that are just openly admitting to the crimes they committed, like openly admitting to the murders they committed. He gets them to act out scenes in the movie of what they used to do. Like
kind of close up.
They're kind of yes, exactly. But they're like bragging about it. But over the course of the movie, you kind of see. I don't want to say too much about it because that's not my pick. So, but you kind of see basically like it makes you think about how could people like this not feel guilt?
Yeah.
And it makes it makes them feel differently by the end too. But I won't say too much about that because my actual pick is Sans Soleil, which is the Chris Marker documentary. And it's kind of like Close Up in terms of like it's not the first thing you think of when you think of a straight documentary, but it is a documentary. It's a travelogue kind of, It's basically Chris Marker's travelogue in terms of when he visited Africa and Japan, and he kind of merges the two with a bunch of pictures he took. It's almost all images, and a lot of his images, and so basically just his experiences of visiting those two places, but it's told. Like I said, it's kind of fictional because it's like a person writing a letter, but it's basically his thoughts, and so it's his thoughts on those two countries and kind of how it relates to the rest of the world. Basically, a lot of the movies we talked about, it's kind of like you have to watch it, We're just trying to mention it and try to talk about it the ways we can.
Introduce it.
Yeah, introduce it. and at least talk about some of the aspects that we like about it and why we like about movies in general. So yeah, Sans Soleil. And another reason I wasn't gonna pick Chris Marker's one of my all-time favorites, and I don't think I'm gonna pick him coming up, so I had to get one in there. So are we going? Is Best Animated next?
Yeah.
All right, Best Animated. Which I don't like. So I guess the Oscars, if they keep these in order as how they value them, they value Best Score over Best Animated, which is kind of crazy.
That's
honestly.
kind of crazy.
In terms of like,
Well,
I mean,
it's a movie award show though.
Well,
It's a
actually,
movie
yeah,
award
that's
show.
true.
I put these in order.
Oh, you did the order.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
This guy.
So I value. No,
Oh,
okay,
my
no,
goodness.
okay.
No, Best Animated Feature was one of the hardest ones for me because there are so many animated
Yeah,
features.
I mean,
that
it's a movie,
love,
like,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. So,
This
Here we
is
go.
time, Blake.
yeah.
I don't. Yeah, no, this is decision time. I don't know if I'm gonna mention all the ones that I want to in here, but just a couple runner-ups. Belladonna, Sadness, great movie. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, one of the best superhero movies of all time. How to Train Your Dragons 2 is a runner-up. My Neighbors, The Yamadas is a runner-up. Grave of the Fireflies, runner-up. Mind Game, runner-up. Great Masaka Ueda movie. The one I'm choosing though is Perfect Blue. Satoshi Kon's
Oh, okay,
Perfect
okay,
Blue,
okay.
which is what you said was based on who again?
No, that's the other one.
Oh, it's another
you
one.
think-
No, that's
yeah.
Paprika. That's Paprika. I mean, this one, Perfect Blue, is also another one where it's just Satoshi Kon showing you kind of in an animated setting, obviously, what women have to go through in acting, kind of. Because this whole movie is basically this woman, something happens to her, and then she doesn't really know who she is at the end of it. Like it's an amazing movie, very well animated,
Very disorientating.
very disorientating, and it's one of the movies that really made me love anime first in general. Like, because Satoshi Kon, so I love Hayao Miyazaki. I think he's one of the greatest ever. I love Isao Takahata. I love Studio Ghibli, but Satoshi Kon is who I really love for anime. Like, I wish he lived and made more than 4 or 5 movies because I think he would be considered the greatest anime director of all time. I think he already is, in my opinion, the greatest anime director of all time. But that's one reason why that's the reason I chose Perfect Blue, because it's my favorite movie from him, I think.
It's a good pick.
I love Satoshi Kon, but honestly, this movie, I mean, it's Studio Ghibli, and I love Satoshi Kon, but I feel like this movie kind of, it's just beautiful in its own way. I picked Princess Mononoke. I love the scenery. I love the action. I love the themes of it. I love everything about it. I think it's a perfect movie.
I think it is too. So.
Yeah, okay. And
that's two of the 3 of us.
oh yeah. Let's not get into that though. Well, and I mean, it's just when I watched it, I didn't realize like an anime movie can be that beautiful in a way and like have that good of imagery.
That's honestly how I feel watching a lot of old Japanese hand-drawn anime.
Oh yeah.
You don't realize that they can be this beautiful, and they really are.
But,
like, just the fact that they're hand-drawn and actually drawing all these scenes out is
it's
ridiculous. It is mind-blowing.
Yeah. But,
So I was going to pick Paprika, but then I was like, can we all 3 have all Japanese anime movies for animated when...
I mean, animated is a Japanese run.
No, it is. It is. And anime, obviously, for the most part, is probably better. At least when people that watch both would say, I'm not even, like, I don't watch that much anime, but I love Satoshi Kon, so that's why I was gonna pick Paprika. But just to make it interesting, an animated movie I've always loved, I have to pick Shrek 2.
Okay, I thought you were gonna go. I thought you were gonna go Kung Fu Panda.
I could have. No, I could have.
I would have not been
And
mad
honestly,
at that.
No, I love Kung Fu Panda, but I mean,
No, and honestly, we'll have to save an episode for DreamWorks versus
that'll be
Pixar
enough.
or something like that.
We'll have to-
or just best animated studios or something.
We're gonna
like
throw
that.
down after that one, bro.
But I'm gonna pick Shrek 2 because obviously it's a movie from my childhood, and rewatching it. I think last year I rewatched it. It definitely holds up. Like,
Oh yeah.
obviously to some degree you have to love the characters already. So to some degree you have to love Shrek and Donkey already. But,
Who couldn't?
Yeah, but who couldn't? Exactly. But Shrek 2 honestly takes up the story from the first one, which is kind of more basic storyline with what's the story with the hair coming down the castle and everything?
Oh, Rapunzel.
Is it Rapunzel?
Yeah,
Is
it's
it?
Rapunzel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
it's
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel. It's a Rapunzel ripoff, kind of. So
Tangled.
yeah, basically. No, but Shrek 2 though just takes it to a whole new level. It's like, uh, obviously, most people watching this have probably watched it already, but um, like it's hard to do an animated sequel that's actually better than the original. If you actually like the original for the most part,
Kind of
like
is,
if you think
honestly.
about it, like even all the Pixar sequels are not. Usually
I mean, How to
as
Train Your
good.
Dragon 2 is better than the original, also. I think
It's close. Those
I
are
think,
closer, definitely. But yeah, I have to say Shrek 2.
it's a great pick.
Yes, and honestly, Paprika's probably tied up there too with it. So, best. Okay, next one you have best international feature to win an Oscar.
Okay.
Which is-
this was a twist on the original Oscar category.
Yes,
Yeah.
because the original category is just best international feature.
Yeah.
And our
we
fist
should-
is full of them.
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
I mean,
you know, there's way too many. So.
We're just gonna choose the best one that actually won the Oscar,
Yes.
and this one
Yeah.
was very easy for me. Once I got to 1975, I saw Dare Sue Uzal, and I was like, okay,
Okay.
obviously this is the best one that's ever been made. So, I mean, Dare Sue Uzal is. That's why I had a hard time saying Kagemusha is my favorite Kurosawa, because Dare Sue Uzal is probably the second or maybe the first on some days. I really love the way that Akira Kurosawa portrays Russo-Japanese relationships, because I think the time period is set in the 19th century, right? I'd have to vet that, but the Japanese-Russian relationships have never been very good. And I mean never. And the fact that first off, he's kind of friends with Andrei Tarkovsky, which is pretty cool. And so he actually just went to Russia and got a bunch of Russian actors and one Japanese actor, and they made a movie about kind of just men from different standings bonding over nature, kind of like that's literally what the movie is. And I love this movie. It's one of my favorite Kurosawas, and I don't even have to go past this to know that that's what I was gonna pick, because I mean this is one of my favorite movies of all time. So
Great pick.
All right. Well, this one I feel like it's a no-brainer pick for a lot of like people who are into like international movies. I had to pick it. I had to pick 8.5. I mean,
Okay, yes. We talk about this movie a lot.
it's
so.
essential. I mean,
Yeah.
the way Fellini he like has a story that just like it kind of just like blends like fiction and reality. The way he portrays like the hopes and like dreams of this director, which is, and it's also interesting how it's so autobiographical. How do you even pronounce that? Autobiographical at the time, because you know he was suffering from director's block after directing La Dolce Vita, which he felt like he couldn't top, and which I don't blame him, because La Dolce Vita is a masterpiece. So
that's what the movie's kind of about.
yeah, it's kind of autobiographical about himself, and he kind of used this as a way to get out of this block, and it transitioned him into his second half of his career. It's getting to the more surrealist films of his. And
plus, that makes sense. Like the Oscars liking that too, because it's a movie about making movies, kind of thing.
Of course,
so.
yeah, and
Oscars love that.
I love Marcello Mastroianni in it. Everyone, all the supporting actors in that movie were flawless. I mean, honestly, it's a movie that just every time I watch, I notice something new, and I appreciate it more and more every time. And that's it's a pretty obvious pick, but I mean, how could you not?
All right, and now go to mine, which is The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie, which is I forgot that this won an Oscar.
Yeah.
And this is Louis Spoonwell's movie.
Do you win Best Foreign Film?
Yeah, it did. Best
it
International.
did.
Yeah,
It did.
because and honestly, this is just an excuse to tell the story, because if you haven't noticed the theme, at least probably for most of us, but definitely for me, like I'm just using these categories to pick my favorite directors in a way. So for Buñuel, like one of my favorite stories about him is like he had basically trashed the Oscars all his life, that kind of thing. Like, he had always had quotes of like, Oscars are not very serious, not worth it, that kind of thing. And so when he won this, he still actually went to go accept it, but like he wore this like basically these glasses and nose kind of like disguise thing, and like he wore it basically the whole time, like even in pictures you can look it up and stuff.
That's so funny, dude.
Yeah, but that was just kind of his joke. Even though he still won the Oscar, which is crazy, but by that time he was a well-known director, so it's not that surprising. Oscars love doing that. Like once a director is like really famous, then they get the Oscars. So the next category we have is Best Original Score, which I can see is a really tough one. So Blake, start us off. Best score.
It would be a very tough one if I didn't already know what my favorite score was from a movie, and that is the original score that Simon Leong made in Rebels of the Neon God, his first feature film, and it's probably my favorite movie of all time, and the score plays a heavy factor in that. If you hear this score, it will be stuck in your head for more than 2 days. Like I almost guarantee you, because it's a banger. It's just a banger, man.
We're gonna.
I really well, I own it, but I think it's on Mubi right now.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay.
But I really hope that we play it, that Danny can find the clip to play in here, because it's a very good score, and I think people need to listen to it. If you can't, you can just look it up on YouTube. You can literally just type in Rebels of the Neon God score, and it'll come up. Yeah. It's a banger.
Oh yeah. Well, the one I picked, this one was also very hard for me, but this one I just kept coming back to, so I had to pick it. It's the score for In the Mood for Love.
Dude, that's a great one.
Yes.
Come on. I mean, it's so good that I think it would hinder the movie if it didn't have this good of a score.
Oh,
sure. And I just love how like repetitive it is, but like it's just, I don't know, it's hard to describe how good, like why it's so good. You just have to hear it, especially in the context of the movie. You feel like you would need to hear it as, but yeah, that was definitely the pick.
It's a steamy movie, and it's a steamy score.
Oh yes. Yeah.
All right. No, that's a great pick, because it is one of the first things you think about with the movie too, like them walking down the hallways and the alleyways and everything, so and the music playing in the background, because they're walking in slow mo.
Yes, they are. It's so good.
But this one is honestly tough for me. Like, honestly, when I think about movies, score is like not something I think about. It's not one of the first things I think about. So, going back and looking through Letterboxd, I was like, man, I really need to pay attention to scores more sometimes. But there are some I really love. But the one I'm going to pick is Fantastic Planet, which was in the running for one of my favorite animated movies too.
Oh yeah, dude. I forgot about that movie. Oh my
score.
God,
it's a great score too. No, it's an amazing score. It's a French animated movie from the 70s.
Yeah, 72. I'm pretty sure.
But yeah, great score. I'm probably going to insert at some point while we're talking, insert at least one song from these scores, just so you can get a feel for these at least. So,
I'm surprised you didn't pick Charlotte, honestly, because that's one I heavily considered.
Oh, that's coming up. Spoiler
yeah.
alert. That's coming
Spoiler
up.
alert.
So that's why I didn't say it. But yes, the Fantastic Planet, and also just because an animated movie having an amazing score like that, you don't usually think about. You're thinking more about the animation more than the score per se.
Yes,
So.
and the animation is immaculate.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, it's great, but yeah, the score is also so good, and I still think about that sometimes. So, the next categories we have are the screenplay ones. So we figured just to make we're gonna combine these to where like you can talk about the adapted and the original at the same time, and we'll do this to some of the acting too, just to make it go by a little faster. So Blake, what are your two screenplay?
All right, so for Best Original Screenplay, I narrowed it down to 3. Those 3 were Cinema Paradiso, Throwdown, and Rebels of the Neon God. And I'm going to go with Johnny To's Throwdown.
Oh, you saw that recently too.
Yes, I saw this very recently. It's already one of my favorite movies, because this isn't adapted from anything, thankfully, because it wouldn't be considered in this category. But it is influenced by Akira Kurosawa's and Shiro Sugata, which is about a judo master, basically, or someone trying to become a judo master. And that's what Throwdown is about. It's basically about judo and this guy trying to basically refine himself after he lost his way. And I really love this movie. I really love how Johnny To dedicated this to Kurosawa, and honestly, this is a way better movie than what... Okay, I don't want to say it's a way better movie than what Kurosawa could have made with it, because Sanshiro Sagawa was his first movie, I'm pretty sure. But Johnny To makes an amazing judo movie. It's got some amazing cinematography, and I just think it's a very original screenplay, a very great original screenplay. And the one that I had for adapted, this one's obviously a lot harder because almost every movie I feel like is adapted from something. But the one that I went with for adapted is The Face of Another.
Oh.
It is
okay, based on a book.
adapted. It's adapted from. Let me find it just real quick. But I have already talked about The Face of Another once, and so I won't wax on about it. But it's by Kobo Abe. It's a Japanese novel by Kobo Abe, and it is adapted from that novel. And this is honestly, it's another one of my favorite movies of all time. I talked about it already, like I said, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But I really love the way that he adapted this. I'm going to read the book at some point, The Face of Another, because I love the story that is told in the movie. So
To compare the two.
to compare the two, I need to compare them. But I mean, the book is always better, is what people say. But who knows? But that's why I chose for those two.
All right. Well,
Good picks.
for my original screenplay pick, this is a movie that I love mainly because of its screenplay, and it's a movie that it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I wanted to give a shout out. It's Before Sunrise. I mean, come on, it carries the movie basically. I mean, if the dialogue wasn't this good, this movie would suck. Okay, it's why the movie is as acclaimed as it is. It's why I love this movie so much. All the dialogue feels so real between the two characters, and it feels so like in the moment, and that's why I love it so much. One of the best screenplays of all time, and my best adapted is an interesting one. It will be Mishima: A Life in Four Chapters, which is interesting because it adapts four, like, was it 3 to 4 short stories, I believe?
I'm pretty sure it's 3 different short stories,
Okay,
or books. That Mishima wrote.
Yeah, Yukio Mishima, and the way it adapts them so well, because like with the visuals and everything, and but also I love the dialogue because it's also like deep and beautiful, but like it just flows so well.
Yes.
Yeah, and on paper it shouldn't work, but honestly, it just does. It just.
And I will say that Yukio Mishima's stories are really good. I've read a couple of his books, so
I've only read one, The Castle, the Golden Temple.
Temple of the Golden Pavilion.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't read that one. I read his.
I read that a while.
I read one. I started reading one of his trilogies. So.
But the Golden Pavilion set in Mishima is amazing.
It's so good.
It's amazing.
And
that's why I read the book. I was like, I need to read this.
I forgot to
just
consider
based on
that
that one set alone.
That's a great production design as well
yes.
picked. Yeah.
Oh yes, and best score too. Amazing.
Oh
score.
yeah,
we didn't talk about that for score, but that was in my running.
That was
too.
also in my running for my score. Yeah.
So for my, you already said both yours, right?
Yeah.
Yes, adapted. Okay, so I'll go with my best original first, which was we were talking about this a little earlier. It's tough to pick original because you never know what's actually influenced, and how do you know when something's like, how do you consider something adapted versus truly original? But in some ways, this movie I'm picking, I do feel like is truly original because it's so autobiographical, which is The 400 Blows,
Nice.
which I rewatched recently. I've seen it a few times, and to me, even more than just the movie itself as a screenplay being good, obviously, and the autobiographical nature of it, but also the influence it had on obviously so many later coming of age movies that you'll see.
Yes.
In terms of just like, following just a kid around, and it just seems so natural. It's not overdoing the cinematic stuff, and it's just letting you feel what this kid feels like as he goes through almost day to day.
Yeah.
And it's just a great screenplay because it's almost a lot of it's based on kind of Francis Truffaut's life and the other screenwriter. I forgot his name. I'll look it up in a second, but. The other screenwriter, it's kind of mixed up both of their lives. But growing up, Truffaut was kind of an orphan, so you can obviously the kid in this is not a true orphan, and I won't spoil the movie, but he's not a true orphan. But you kind of feel that vibe throughout the movie. This kid trying to make it alone, and it feels that personal because a big part of it is that screenplay. The stories he chooses to tell, which are very small individually, but when you add them up throughout the course of the movie, it feels like you get this whole kid's life.
Yeah, I also think Jean-Pierre Laut's performance in that movie.
Oh yes, and made his career.
It wouldn't work as well if it wasn't for him. I mean, yeah.
Marcel Musi is the screenwriter he wrote it with. And looking at while I was looking up the movie on Wikipedia to make sure it wasn't based on some kind of book or something, I saw this quote at the end. I just had to read. Kurosawa called it one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen, and they have a list of all the directors that called 400 Blows one of their favorites, and it's the list. I just have to read the list because it's amazing. Kurosawa, Buñuel, Ray, John Cocteau, Carl Theodore Dreyer, Richard Linklater, Simon Long, Woody Allen, Richard Lester, Norman Jewison, P.C. Sriram, Wes Anderson, and Nicolas Cage. That's the
Yeah,
ones that
it's crazy,
Wikipedia
dude.
lists.
Nicolas Cage.
You know.
That's funny.
Especially since some of those directors were older than Truffaut.
Yeah.
You know, so and you know how a lot of times old directors don't want to say a younger director had one of the greatest movies ever made, but it was a hugely influential movie at the time in
Definitely.
terms of.
It's still influential.
But in some ways, it's also influenced by Ozu, and we'll talk about this more when our future episodes when we actually get more in depth on this stuff. So, yeah, 400 Blows.
It's a great pick.
And for my adapted, this is the one where it might be a little controversial, but I just want to talk about this movie a lot. And I rewatched it the other day. Is Robert Rossellini's The Messiah, which is based on the Gospels.
Okay.
And honestly, the Letterboxd review of it, the Letterboxd little blurb they have, synopsis, is not good at all. Because it says he takes a lot of liberties with the source material, and it's like Rossellini style or whatever. It's like just a bad description of the movie. So. I think it's a real, obviously growing up in Arkansas and just growing up around the church and being in the church for a long time. I have my opinions on what I like about Christianity and all the stuff I don't like about it. But just in short, the Messiah is like almost everything I do love about Christianity, and just growing up with it, like what I appreciate about it is kind of wrapped up in even people that hate the Bible. Or don't even hate the Bible, just aren't religious or anything, they will still be like, I can see what Jesus was saying. I kind of appreciate what Jesus was saying. And if you're even if you're that kind of person, you would really like the Messiah because it's not like most Christian movies where the moral and the message is being forced down your throat. He's kind of just almost presenting a historical documentary style on just a floating camera following around Jesus and his disciples, and he's basically never telling you what to think about any certain situation. And it's just, in my opinion, a great way to adapt the Bible. It's honestly the only way you should do most historical movies.
It sounds like a great way to adapt the Bible.
And he made a sequel called The Acts of Apostles, which was like a 5 episodes.
Yeah, it was 5 episodes.
The Acts. But this was the first one, The Messiah, about Jesus' life. So I just had to. It's a crazy pick.
And
honestly.
if the Messiah is anything like Acts, then I would agree that's a good. It's a very good retelling, or it's a very good way to adapt the Bible, in my opinion, for sure.
It's almost like just total opposite of Passion of the Christ. Just think of that. What would a Jesus movie be like if it's undramatic, exact opposite of what the Passion of the Christ is?
Yeah.
So just think of that. And okay, so we just got done with screenplay. We'll go to the next category we have, which is one of my favorites, best cinematography.
The category.
All right, Blake.
One of the toughest, but I am going to pair this one with the one that won best sound for me because this is why I love movies. Is Nine Sug from Amit Duda, and I already described what it was about whenever I was talking about the sound design, but it's literally a movie about a painter painting. He's showing you what this man saw while he was painting, and the shots that Amit Duda puts in this movie is immaculate. I love this movie so much, and the big reason is the cinematography and sound design. Because I think there might be literally 1 line, 2 lines of dialogue in the whole freaking movie, dude. It's not a movie that talks hardly at all, and he just lets the camera do its work, and he lets the images do its work, and that's why I like so much about it, and that's why I love movies. There was a huge list, obviously, that I just had to narrow it down, but I had to pair this one, I think, with my sound design one, because that's the reason why I love movies, is those two paired together specifically.
Speaking of letting the images and the camera do the work, I had Mirror.
Mirror's a great one,
movie.
dude. That's a great movie.
I mean, it's like, man, it's hard. There's just so many images in that it just burns in your brain because just how beautiful it is, and it just feels like a dream. There's not really a plot, and nothing really makes sense. But to be honest, does it really need to if it looks that gorgeous? To be honest, and the one I know this is kind of a basic shot that everyone talks about this shot from it, but I mean it's probably my favorite. It's the burning house. I mean,
dude,
come on.
That's literally the one that sticks with you, obviously.
With the camera just slowly moving.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Behind the
one that sticks
it's just so Tarkovsky. And
and honestly, Is it? I guess we'll get to all these people eventually. But is that one of your favorite Tarkovsky? Is that your favorite Tarkovsky movie? Or is it just cinematography
I need to
alone?
rewatch it. I probably still say Stalker's my favorite, but
Okay,
honestly,
okay.
if I rewatch this, it could.
But I can see why you'd pick the cinematography of Mirror over Stalker.
Yeah, but I also heavily considered The Tree of Life. That was like the other one that I was heavily considering. Yeah.
And honestly, yeah, that's okay. This was another one of my categories where I hadn't picked. So, and I just realized that I'm not gonna have another Malick movie. I don't think I haven't picked a Malick movie yet.
Great.
So that's gonna be my pick, Tree of
Okay,
Life. I
yeah.
have to.
Wow.
I have to because all the other ones I was about to say, I think I picked the director. So, The Tree of Life, and that was a good transition. And it's not only just the images itself,
Yeah.
right? It's the it kind of mixes with the editing, right?
Yeah.
Like the way he moves his camera is
Yeah.
perfectly with the way he edits his movies,
Oh, yeah.
you know. And obviously Tarkovsky is a huge influence, just you can tell by the way he shoots and stuff.
Yeah, and I just love the shots of where the camera's just like straight up, like with the
All of
trees.
a sudden he'll go really fast.
Yeah, and
Yep.
it's like what in the world?
Like he'll get you into some zone and all of a sudden the camera
Yeah.
moves fast. Like that's why I can't see. I can never understand why people will call Malick boring.
Oh
You know?
yeah,
Because like if you're paying attention, I guess it's true. Like not everyone wants to pay attention to like how the camera's moving and stuff.
Yeah.
But like you have to. Like
it's
that's,
not like it's just in your face.
and let alone all the images he actually gets.
Oh.
Uses natural light as good as anyone, probably better.
Really, any Malick movie could go.
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
But, I mean,
But it's got to be Tree of Life. That's
yeah,
that's the
definitely
masterpiece.
number one.
And let alone the 20-minute sequence with the the creation of the world at the beginning.
Yes,
That counts as cinematography too. So
it does.
and we've already talked about 2001 a lot. So I had to at least mention that because that's obviously
Shout
just
out,
insane.
yeah.
But yeah, Tree of Life. I have to get Malick. Because this is being recorded forever, so I have to at least I can't do a podcast episode talking about favorite movies and not mention a Malick movie. So.
We mentioned the Thin Red Line already.
We did, yeah, we did mention it. I don't think I picked a Malick movie yet, though, so I couldn't feel I felt guilty about that. But all right, so now we're going to do we're going to combine the supporting and
the supporting together and then the
yeah,
best
so
ones,
the supportings together and the main actors together
Yes.
too. So, who are your supporting actresses and actor?
All right, so these were the hardest ones for me, obviously, because I don't honestly, I don't really watch movies for actors, but for best supporting actress, since you guys won't let me choose the one I wanted to choose, I'm going to choose.
Okay.
I'm going to choose Andre Riseborough from Mandy. She's not in the movie for very long. She's in it for about
I haven't seen
25.
it. Yeah,
You haven't seen Mandy?
No.
She's great.
She's in it
Oh
for
my
about
gosh.
25 to 30 minutes, but in that 25 to 30 minutes, you understand why Nick Cage goes insane once something happens to her. Obviously, I don't really want to spoil
And
anything, but
that's also director choice, right? He spends
he spends a lot of time
on
with
those
those
two.
two characters.
Yes,
Like
by himself.
he spends the first 30 minutes of the
30 minutes,
movie with them, and then that's why whenever what happens, you feel for it and you understand why Nick Cage does what he does. Because I don't know, she just does a really good job in that movie, in my opinion. So that's who I would pick for best supporting actress. And then best supporting actor was also it was difficult, but thankfully I rewatched Embrace of the Serpent very recently because Antonio Bolivar, who plays Karamikati, the old version of Karamikati, who is the Indian guide for or the native guide for this group, for these two guys, as they're trying to find this plant that supposedly has healing powers so that they can heal this man. But he plays Karamikati as the old version of him, leading a younger man on this journey to try to find this plant, because this younger man, he's trying to kind of hide what his true intentions of the mission, of why he's there. He's trying to hide it because he knows that this old man won't help him, because he kind of wants to do things that this old man obviously won't want him to do. But I really like the relationship these two guys formed during this whole movie. I really love the way that he specifically talks about the influence of the white man in the movie, and how there are things that the young version of him does and the old version of him does that are I just really like the character. And I chose the older version because I like the older version more, because he's more wise, he's more thought-provoking, honestly, for me. And that's why I chose him for my best supporting actor.
Yeah.
He's a great actor in that movie, and I would recommend that movie highly if no one's seen it. If you haven't seen it,
Yeah,
criminally
I haven't
criminally
seen it.
underseen.
I mean,
Honestly,
yeah.
you've seen it.
I have?
Embrace of the Serpent.
Oh,
yeah.
Brace the Serpent. Okay, you're talking about the actress one.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
No, that was the actor.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, Brace the Serpent. Yeah, I've only seen it once. That's a good pick.
It's a great.
Who
It's a
directed
great
that?
movie. I think it's his name's Guevara. I'm pretty sure, but let me look
Yeah, I
real
know.
quick. Embrace of the Serpent.
But while he looks that up, Luke, what are your two?
Well, I had something down as supporting actress, but I just thought of it, and so I'm changing it on the
All
spot.
right, yeah, do it.
So
This is it.
what I originally had was Karuna Banerjee from Aparajito. It's
Oh,
Apu's
okay.
mom from Aparajito. That's what I originally had, but I forgot about another actor. And funnily enough, it's from the same director.
Actress?
Yeah, the actress
Okay.
is from the same director's movies.
Okay.
And in fact, it's the sequel to Aparajito. I'm
Oh.
picking Sharmila Tagore from World of Apu.
Nice.
She plays the wife
good
of
pick.
Apu in that movie. And in that movie, which I can also credit this to the writing as well in that movie because it's fantastic, but honestly, the way like her acting feels, it makes you the way she basically like okay, it's kind of hard to say why I like her so much without spoiling the movie, but the way she acts, it makes you so connected to her that when something happens in the movie, you feel a certain way. I can't say it because it's really spoiling the movie, and you just need to watch it because
Yes.
it's like
But yeah,
one
in
of
a
the
short
best,
amount of
yeah.
time, you get a lot of emotional
Yeah,
impact from
pretty much.
from her, and because she plays the wife.
you feel so attached to her, and that's what I can't believe I forgot about that. But hey, I mean,
That's a good no, because I forgot about it too. Because I was thinking, how am I gonna get? I wanted to talk. I was thinking of how could I get Sharmila Tagore, and I forgot about that movie completely. Because I was thinking of because she's in a bunch of Ray movies after that, or a few of them after.
Okay, yeah.
But that's obviously her first Ray movie.
yeah, she's so good.
So now let me do my supporting. Because on the same line of thought, I thought you were about to steal my supporting actress.
Oh, really?
Because mine is also a Satyajit Ray movie.
Okay.
But it's from his first movie, Pata Panchali.
Oh,
The grandma.
Okay, yeah.
Chunibala
yeah.
Devi.
Man.
And it's like her only movie. Like, obviously, she was really local. Like, she had never acted. That was her only movie she ever acted in. But just, like, that's part of it, right? Just so natural.
Yeah.
Like, and it's one of the few supporting roles that I think of, like, has a big impact on the movie in terms of making you feel like you're actually there, kind of. You know, her
Yeah.
character alone just makes you feel like you're more in the village, just with her
Yeah,
always.
You're more in the moment.
Yes, exactly. Even more, honestly, in some ways, even more than all the other actors. Like, she's obviously the one even acting the least in some ways, but that's what makes it so good and like carries that movie without spoiling it. But
Yeah. Shout out Saji Ray.
yes, which is also coming up soon for me. But
Coming up soon.
my best supporting actor. This was honestly one of my favorite picks because.
Oh wait, I forgot to say my supporting actor.
Okay, say
Yeah,
yours,
so this one actually is something that's he's technically the lead actor, but I'm gonna explain why. And I've already talked about this movie before, but I put Jacques Tati from Playtime as best supporting actor. And okay, let me explain.
All right,
Let me
okay,
explain.
that's gonna take some explaining.
Okay. So when I thought about it more, I realized I feel like the extras, all the extras in the background of the world is the main actor, and I feel like Tati is the supporting because he supports. He's a supporting actor
okay.
to the main,
Yes. Yes.
character in my opinion, which is Paris in this
Yes.
movie, and
And
he does such a good job
Yes.
at it, and he leads it perfectly. He entertains you. I mean, he kind of takes you on this ride.
he guides you through the movie without
Yeah.
being the actual actor at the center of it, really.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just like when I think about Playtime, most of what I think about first is the background and the extras.
The sets
It's
and
not
the-
what
yeah.
I usually don't think about Monsieur Hulot at first. And-
Especially compared to like Monsieur Hulot's Holiday or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mon Uncle and stuff.
Or Mon Uncle, yeah.
Even though I do kind of think about the house in Mon Uncle, but
Oh,
never mind.
No, but yeah. We won't go crazy with Tati.
Yeah.
No, okay, all right. That's actually a good because I even said it earlier. Remember, I was saying like he's not even as central as even some of
Yeah.
the other like silent movie characters that are more about that.
Yeah.
Like Chaplin or something.
Very
so, like,
selfless. And
yeah.
It's a
But
reason
on
why-
design, like he's obviously spending so much time on his sets and the
Yeah.
backgrounds and all the extras
Yeah.
and stuff.
It's a reason why I like his last movie so much is that it's kind of just like a perfect ending to such a selfless career. Like,
Yes.
like focusing on the actors of a circus instead
Yes.
of himself really for the movie. Yeah, so that's why I just love.
All right, so you're saying that he's a supporting in that one too?
Yeah.
He
Okay.
kinda
Well,
is.
yeah, he is actually. I would consider him.
Especially by the definition you're using, which is
Yeah.
I guess we can kind of mention this, like, because we were looking at what are the Oscars rules for these, and they really basically have no rules. They're like,
So
you
it's
get
up to you.
pick. Yeah, yeah, so I already said my supporting actor. So my supporting actor, this is honestly one of my favorite picks, because it's one of the supporting roles I've thought about the most in a movie, but it's not a human. It's the elephant in Rossellini's India, Matri Boomy.
I haven't
Wait.
seen it.
It's
so.
it's honestly, the elephants aren't that long, but I get it's kind of all the elephants, but there's one main elephant that you see a good amount of shots of, and he films a documentary style, but he wants you to feel the emotions of the animal.
Yeah.
And this is actually a big belief of mine in terms of animals are really good actors in certain degrees in movies because they're always basically they're always acting, right? Like in terms of like they don't know that there's a camera in front of them,
Yeah.
right? So they can always play the same exact emotion.
Now
And if you film it right, like obviously you can do it really badly with a lot of animals, but if you film it right, and because I posted this video on Twitter for a while, like it was in my pinned tweet for a while, just the elephant walking, and Rossellini did this on purpose, but like you get so much emotion, partly from the camera, partly from what the elephant's doing, but you get some emotion of just this elephant dragging, doing work, doing his like day's labor, and then he just lays down, and this elephant master starts, scraping, getting all the dust off him and stuff, and you can tell he's like just the elephant's just relaxing, enjoying it, and you can just like feel the emotions of him just enjoying it, And he's not acting; it's real,
awesome,
but for the
yeah.
movie, it's
Sounds
kind
awesome.
of acting, And Rossellini does this on purpose, right? So
Now, would you say it's a better performance than the donkey in
that's
Offers of
why, and I was
Balthazar?
literally about to mention that. I would have picked the donkey in Alf, but he's a main actor to me. He's the
Yeah,
lead.
yeah,
The title, the
yeah.
movie's
The
named
movie's
after
about
him.
him, yeah.
The
Yeah,
movie's
pretty
named
much.
after him, or
Yeah.
I would have picked him for sure.
Okay.
Or the donkey in John Abraham's Donkey in a Brahmin Village, which is based
Oh, I've never seen
on Bresson's Alcazar Balthazar. But those are both lead actors. Donkeys.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to pick a sporting in this elephant in Rossellini's, because there's also a monkey in Rossellini's India movie, which also does a really good acting job. So, and that's not an insult to supporting actors. I'm
No,
just like,
it's not.
it's honestly just a way so I could talk about the elephant in this movie. So,
Shout out.
now our best
Shout out,
now. One of the main Oscar categories that we're gonna say the actor and actress at the same time is best actor and actress. So
All right.
Oh, man.
Before that, just to answer your question on Embrace of the Serpent, was directed by Ciro Guerra.
Okay.
But I would be remiss if I didn't at least have a Hao Shin movie on my movies. So I'm going to pick for best actress Shu Qi in Millennium Mambo.
Okay.
She plays Vicky. She's the main character. And Millennium Mambo it starts off with a 10-minute long shot of Vicky walking down a corridor to the music, basically. And this is it's like a look back on her life 10 years in the past, whenever it was the new millennium. And like a look at her on again, off again relationship with like her boyfriend, who was an asshole, and you're like, why is this amazing woman with this asshole? and it's basically just a movie about that, and she does a great job anchoring the entire movie. And like I said, I would be remiss if I didn't have at least one Hao Shin movie on here. I feel bad because we haven't had any Edward Yang on here yet either. But
Oh, don't worry.
okay. No, but
okay.
so I chose Shu Qi from Millennium Mambo for best actress, and for best actor, definitely harder. I don't know what
Honestly,
I
I
want to
think
choose
actress is
still.
harder than actor, but I mean, yeah.
There's just so many that I like for actor, but I think I have to go with one of my favorite Japanese actors, Koji Yakusho, in Eureka. He's the guy that's in Cure. I know you've seen Cure.
Oh, yeah.
He's the main detective in
Okay.
Cure.
Oh, okay.
But he's like Eureka is one of the best movies about trauma I've ever seen. It's a 4-hour long like a Japanese movie about these 3 people that survived a hostage situation on a bus and them taking a bus trip around Japan basically. And it's this guy it's this guy Koji Yakusho's character and 2 younger characters who were like kids basically. And it's basically just them trying to go around trying to work through their trauma together in this bus. That is exactly like the bus that this hostage situation happened in. and he just does an amazing job in this movie, man. He anchors the whole thing. You really feel for all the characters, but I really love him specifically. But that's who I'm gonna choose for best actor. It's also the Eureka is directed by Shunji Aoyama.
Okay. I haven't heard of that. I need to watch that now. That sounds amazing.
It's a
Except for
great
the
movie.
4-hour part. No.
Oh no, it flies by, honestly. You don't. I watched a movie which at the time was terrible with buffering, so it took me longer than 4 hours to get through it even. But I love that movie, dude. It's a great movie.
Movie with buffering on me, I would have no patience, dude.
You have to have
just play
patience,
that.
sir.
All right. Well, for my best actress, which was by far the hardest one for me, because I forget how many good, best actors.
There are so many great, dude.
Like
I really want to give my runners up also, but
some of my runners up are like The Red Shoes, Knights of Cabiria.
I was even gonna say Corinne Marchand from Cleo 5 to 7.
That's one. That's what I was about to say next. Yeah, she's so good in that. And well, I ended up going with Setsuko Hara from Tokyo Story.
Okay.
And,
I haven't seen Tokyo Story.
I mean,
Oh.
the way she just portrays someone who has experienced such a tragic loss, and how she is strong moving forward, and how she how optimistic she gets, but how man, this is hard to how
She
just
does both contradictory emotions while
really
still
well.
playing the Ozu straight, not give. It's honestly, she's an amazing actress. Like,
Oh my goodness.
and it's honestly just it's more like an excuse just to talk about her in all of Ozu's movies too. She's amazing in a lot of them. You probably think that's her best role though. I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Just
I think
Tokyo
so.
Story.
She was great in Early Summer though. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. No, she's good in a lot. And it's just like the way she understands what Ozu's trying to do, and she like you're saying, she plays different emotions really well. I guess it's hard to say, but
it's just such a powerful performance, and honestly, Tokyo Story is one of the greatest movies of all time. So she kind of makes the movie what it is, in my opinion. She's a major part in that. And for my best actor, Danny's gonna get hyped about this, but I picked Hossein Sabzian from Close Up.
Oh,
And
okay.
This is
That's a
an
good
interesting.
pick.
It's an interesting one because
That's a good pick.
if you know the story behind Close Up, it's basically Kiarostami got these people, this guy who basically impersonated a famous Iranian director, and got prosecuted for it criminally, and he basically got all the people from that case, including the main guy, who I picked, and got to reenact the situation. And the thing is that he is a very good actor, and it's really unexpected. It's like how did he get this guy off the street, and he's just amazing at portraying emotions too, like him reenacting, or is it a reenactment? We don't know, but
That's part of it though, right?
Yeah, it's just
you can't tell which ones are straight recording versus which one is reenacting, and that's part of him acting.
Yeah, and and you might say oh, it's so easy to play yourself, but really is it though? I mean, it's got to be hard at some point, and he just knocks it out of the park.
Yes, that's a really good pick. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go to mine now. I'll start with my best actor, and this is just an excuse to, like I was saying earlier about Setsuo Hara, picking one movie. It's just an excuse to mention the actor. Yeah. But for me, I had to go with the one that when I hear best actor, I think of right away. It's Chaplin.
Yeah.
And the movie I was gonna pick is Monsieur Verdoux.
Okay.
My favorite Chaplin movie.
That's a great.
And it's a lot of, especially since obviously everyone's heard of the name Charlie Chaplin, but this is actually a sound movie, so it's made later, and it's more. It's not like silent comedy. It's more a straightforward movie.
There is a lot of comedy in it.
Oh, there's some comedy definitely, but it's definitely he's a way more self-aware character.
Yeah.
He's almost a villain basically in some ways. So
I agree with you. I think that's his best performance as well.
Yes, exactly, and the fact that he shows his range compared to he's not just a silent actor.
Oh yeah.
Doing kind of stunts or gimmicks, and obviously if you know anything about Chaplin, he was also a great director when he was directing his movies, but a lot of people don't think of him like that. But yeah, Monsieur Verdoux is a reason to really talk about Chaplin and his range over the course of his career, which led up to Monsieur being able to do a movie like Monsieur Verdoux. And then my best supporting actress, another one of those. If I hear someone asked me this, I have to say this right away, is Madhabi Mukherjee in Charlotte.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna choose that. That's
Yeah.
why I did. So
Yeah, I had to. I mean,
How could you not?
yeah, it's like when we mentioned at the beginning of the episode about movies that got us into movies. This Charlotte was, one of them that really, made me want to study movies or really get into it. Especially international and movies from India, especially. But she carries the movie in a way. It's very similar to Setsubara, where it's not like, when you think of an Oscar clip for Best Actress or Best Actor, they're always yelling or they're always like, moving around the screen fast or something, like that. It's not a very showy performance.
Yeah.
But it's very in tune with what the emotions are, the movie's trying to do with its emotions. Like, she's late 19th century, so late 1800s. This woman, trapped in her house basically, but the fact that the movie's basically filmed in the house almost the whole time, but you feel like she's so alive in it throughout the course of the movie. That's obviously the directing, but a huge part of it's for her playing the character as well. So, and not to spoil anything, but we'll talk about more about this movie in a little bit too. So, so best director.
Oh man.
Okay.
My
So
favorite
while you guys were
category,
talking,
so.
I was listening, obviously, but I was also thinking of what I'm going to choose. And what I end up going with is what I think is almost a perfect pairing of all the things I love in movies, like cinematography, sound design, adapting a screenplay from like basically nothing almost. And it is Werner Herzog's Aguirre, The Wrath of God. I'm giving it to Werner Herzog for Aguirre, The Wrath of God.
Okay.
I love.
I
First
know you
off,
love Herzog,
I love
so.
Herzog. I've seen so many of his. I've seen almost all of his like features, but he has so many documentaries and stuff like that. But Aguirre, The Wrath of God is probably my favorite movie from him that's not a documentary. And the reason being is because of what I mentioned. The cinematography is amazing. The opening shot of that movie by itself is amazing, just like the rainforest and them walking down that trail. And I love Klaus Kinski in the movie. He was in the running for Best Actor. I love the sound design. He's another one that makes the jungle feel very oppressive and very real to these Spanish conquistadors. They were Spanish conquistadors, right? I got that right?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. Okay. But I just think that is a perfect movie. I have a lot of what I consider perfect movies for Best Director, but I hadn't mentioned Herzog much today, and I really wanted to give him something. And this is one of the movies that I think perfectly encapsulates what I love about movies. And so that's why I chose Werner Herzog for Aguirre, The Wrath of God.
Wow. Okay, Herzog, yep.
All right. Well, the director was also. I mean, of course, it's very hard. I mean, but I did take the route of I need to give this person a shout out in this one.
Nice.
So I went with Agnes Varda in
Yes.
Cleo from 5 to 7.
I'm so glad that you mentioned
okay.
her.
And come on. She makes Paris feel so like alive, while also like how she uses the camera in that movie is just so genius. Like it's just so free flowing. It feels like one take, even though it isn't really like one take at all. Like she cuts in it, I think.
Oh yeah.
But it just feels like how just like free flowing it is, how alive it all feels, and
I love that movie because I love how she portrays what it would feel like trying to wait for a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
Like just 2 hours waiting to see if you have cancer.
Yes.
Like, oh my god, I just love the way that she portrays how that would feel to be a young woman.
It's just I mean,
The
it's
directing
one of the
is
greatest
amazing.
movies of all time, in my opinion.
I really love Cleo 5 to 7.
That's a great movie, and that's a good pick too. Like, we had to get more in there. I don't think we talked about it really that much yet. So, my best director. When I said spoiler alert when I was talking about Madhabi Mukherjee, we're gonna mention Charlotte again. I just the way I did this was best director. I had to pick at least the most influential director so far that I've studied and love, and it has to be Satyajit Ray. And when I think of Satyajit Ray, I think of Charlotte first. So I just had. I mean, I could have picked Pratitwandi or The Adversary in English, but I had to go with Charlotte because I watched it the other day, rewatched it the other day, and like I was saying earlier about most of the movie be taking place in one house, but it feels so alive, and most of that, obviously, a lot of it's the acting, but most of that, at the end of the day, is the directing. The way he moves the camera, I was paying attention this time. The way the movie. He rarely uses the same shot twice, and the way he shoots different areas of the house based on what the emotions he wants you to feel at the moment. When he decides to move the camera, when he decides to shoot.
The swing.
The swing. Oh, the
Oh
swing
my
scene's
goodness.
amazing.
Yes.
But yes, the putting the camera on her lap, so while she swings, that's a great shot.
Yeah.
But
I think there's a shot in that movie. I think not a lot of people notice, but there's a shot in there when they're outside and she's looking at I don't know what his name is, but the cousin in that movie.
okay,
And she's looking at him, and then the camera just like cuts to her point of view of it, and I don't know if you experienced this, but like the feeling in that moment was just like out of this world. Like
when she's looking through the.
no, just like straight on looking at him.
Okay,
He's like at
okay.
the picnic thing, and like
Okay.
it's just I don't know. There's just some kind of feeling. It just feels
Yes,
like
it's the feeling exactly.
yeah, it's
yes.
so good.
And obviously, even and this for a few. I'll just mention a few reasons. For the first thing is, this was the first movie he actually operated the camera too.
Okay.
So he was actually the one, and obviously, using a film camera is that big. It was not easy operating the camera, but he always said that was the best place to see what's going on is behind the camera.
Yeah.
So he just wanted as much control as possible. But I just had to mention. So I just couldn't. Kubrick would have been my other one for best director, but I had to mention Charlotte because I feel like even more than just best picture, which is about to come out for the last one. Charlotte makes me think more just about the directing, more than even just the movie as a whole. So that's why I picked it.
Yeah.
But now we go to our, final category. This is honestly okay. When you mention your movie, also mention what kind of rules were you going by in terms of how you decided what a best picture was. Because like in some ways, it's like
it's very
I
subjective.
have to compare it to like the NBA MVP award, where like every different person has the definition of what the most valuable player is. This is very similar in terms of what is your definition of best picture.
Yes.
And how'd you go about?
And there are a lot of different ways you can go with this.
Yeah. So
like I have epics on here like Das Boot. I have like even like small horror movie or not small, but like John Carpenter's like in the Mouth of Madness is a really good one that I really loved. But what I went by for Best Picture is just what I love, like my favorite movie, and what I will never get tired of watching, and that is Rebels of the Neon God by Tsai-Ming Liang. And maybe it's just because it's the point I am in life, because the characters in this movie are in their mid to late 20s. Like they are trying to figure out kind of what to do with life. They're pretty aimless. Like you just follow Ling Kong-shing's basically character. Like he's basically just a stand-in for us as we're watching this group of friends live their life and like how they're trying to basically struggle in Taiwan, struggle to live. And I don't know, I just really connect with these characters a lot. And I've seen this movie I think 3 or 4 times now, and each time I just don't get tired of it at all. And it's the movie that I'm going to love probably for the rest of my life, more so than any other movie, I think. So
I need to watch Rebels of the Neon God now. You're hyping it up so much.
I really love that movie. It's his first feature, but I just think it's his best. I don't think he's topped it since. I think he's gotten close, and I still love all of his movies since. I love not all of them. I love most of his movies since.
And you've mentioned a few.
Yes, I've mentioned quite a few of his movies, but he's just never topped Rebels of the Neon God for me. I just really love that movie, and I think it's because I connect to the characters a lot. So that's what I chose for the best picture.
Okay.
For best picture.
So no, but you didn't say this part. How do you define a best picture?
That's what I was defining it by. Was kind of like what would stick with me throughout the rest of my life. This is the movie that I know I will never get tired of. So.
All right. Well, this one was also very hard, of course. I mean, come on. But what I was kind of thinking of was like a culmination of everything I love about just cinema in general, like the feeling of cinema.
Okay.
And if like aliens showed up on Earth and we had to send them one movie,
okay.
what would I send? I would send this movie. And of course, there's a lot of options, and some I considered Close Up. A lot of them I've already like talked about. Close Up, Cleopatra 7, High and Low, even Tokyo Story. And I almost picked Playtime.
Surprised you.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, but honestly, I kept coming back to this movie, and I it's a movie I just can't stop thinking about forever. I mean, it's just something that's gonna. I'm sticking in Taiwan. I'm going to Brighter Summer Day.
Nice,
Oh.
dude.
Okay.
Let's go. Edward Yang represents finally.
I had to. We couldn't go with this without talking about Edward
honestly,
Yang. But I mean,
we've had 3 of the big Taiwanese new wave directors. So
we had to. I mean, come on. I mean, what is there to say? I mean, the way this movie shouldn't work. I mean, it's 4 hours long, and I mean, most of the actors are non-actors too. Like,
Yeah.
and he just kind of he creates such an epic, but like it's so like small and retrospective in the world, like like it just you go through every single emotion in this movie. I feel like,
dude.
and
You do.
the ending is just such a gut punch, and
he wrecks you, man.
just some of the images in that, like, and just this movie has just moments too. Like, I love the scene where Kat is singing at the he's singing a movie called Y at the club thing, you know, and like his voice sounds amazing, and like,
Yeah, dude.
man,
Man, I honestly don't know if I like Brighter Summer Day or Yee Yee more, but both of them are amazing. They're both 4 hours. I'm pretty sure.
I think Yee's like 3 hours.
Yeah,
a little over 3
but I
hours.
just remember at Yee Yee, I was like, oh, thank God, this movie's not like Brighter Summer Day. I'm not gonna bawl at the fucking end. And then at the very end, I was like, oh God, man. I was like, God damn it.
I have a
dude.
confession. I haven't seen an Edward Yang.
Yeah,
movie.
no, you're going to.
I will.
You gotta get on that. I mean,
I will. We'll probably do Taiwan at some
We
point.
will do
too,
Taiwan at
so.
some point. We're gonna
Okay.
have to. So.
Oh yeah. So yeah, and you already said basically how you how you went about it too. So, and I'm very similar to you guys. Like, because one way I was thinking about it was like, what's the movie that the most people would like? You know,
Yeah.
in terms of if you were showing the aliens, but if you took away the emotional aspect personally, you know, like if you were trying to unbiased pick, what would your best picture be? And you know, like 2001. You know, probably some classic Hollywood
Like
movies or
Citizen Kane or something.
you know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I had to go, and partly this is because I haven't mentioned this director yet. Like, and I had to get him in here because he's one of my all-time favorites. Is Late Spring by Ozu.
Nice.
Yep. And the reason I say that because it does a good job of. I think it's like at least this time around when I went back and watched a few Ozu movies, it was my favorite, and part of the reason is because of Setsuo Hara, how good she is in it. But it does a good job of kind of Ozu's whole themes that he visits throughout his movies. And I read this book recently about him, and it mentioned this. That's why I'm going to bring it up. It's called this theme in this kind of idea in Japanese life. It's called this word called mono no aware, which basically means kind of being aware of the impermanence of things. You know, like in a way, kind of being able to appreciate joy and sorrow at the same time. You know, so by basically being honest. You know, so not trying to hide away sad things just because it's sad. And of course, you know, if you've seen even one Ozu movie, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But and to me, in my mind, this one does it the best because if you don't know, the movie's about like this girl who's obviously in 1950s Japan or 1949, so 1940s Japan. A woman not being married at 27 years old is like a huge deal. Like she's getting way too old, and her mother's died, so she lives with her father. And you can kind of see in terms of she doesn't want to get married, and he doesn't want her to get married. But they both see it, like this kind of has to happen at some point because we can't live like this forever.
Yeah.
And it's about in a certain sense they're kind of right. Like why not just live together forever? They're happy, but like you can't. And Ozu always stresses this. You can't hold on to something just because it's happy. You can't hold on forever. You're gonna have to let it go of everything at some point. That's what life is to a certain degree, right? And to me that concept is one of the best concepts I think films does, in terms of being able to appreciate and find joy in the impermanence of things. Yeah. And a lot of filmmakers do this, right? But to me, Late Spring is, one of the best ever. So, and I haven't mentioned Ozu yet, so I had to best picture. And he mentioned Tokyo Story, but I think Late Spring is better. That's why
I think Tokyo Story is better. Late Spring. I need to rewatch it though, to be honest. But.
No, and it's kind of like a lot of directors. It's on a given day.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? Or, if something in your life just happened and this movie's similar, you might say this is my favorite.
Yeah. And see, the one thing I will say about like the difference between Ozu and Kurosawa, especially, is like Kurosawa never really did women in his movies, honestly. And like that's one reason why I like Ozu, like this guy, like Yuzo Kawashima. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's another like late 40s, 50s director. Like Keisuke Kinoshita, like all these guys, they I don't want to say they understood the plight of women because obviously they didn't. They're all men, but they at least they empathize with them very well, and all their movies, or a lot of their movies, are about women in tough situations and feeling sorry for them, and like and showing why this is kind of wrong, you know, like why Japanese society shouldn't be this way, basically. Yes. And they humanize them more than someone like Kurosawa does. Like, so I understand like that criticism, like someone like Kurosawa, and that's why I need to watch more of Ozu, and that's why I love Keisuke Kinoshita and Yuzo Kawashima and other people like them. So,
and I do want to mention this though, it's not just for diversity's sake, right? It's not just like Ozu was not interested, or any of those directors you named, purely because like, you know, a lot of movies nowadays are made, you should like this movie because it's about women. You know, it's not only that, it's like you should like this movie because it's about a human situation with a human person, and it happens to be a woman.
Yes.
And because of it's a woman, it's obviously very different circumstances than if it was a man, right? But you can still empathize with it in some ways while you're watching.
And the best directors always can get that out of you. Like they always know how to make you feel empathy for the person that they're showing.
And honestly, that's why over the course, like Best Actress, and just like if it's a male director, the actress, if the director knows what he's doing, might give her more control because he is making a movie about a woman, you know. So if he's honest, he obviously doesn't know all the experiences.
And that's why I like Cleo 5 to 7 a lot, honestly, because like Marta's obviously a woman. This is what she would be thinking of if she got this thing, like you know, like.
All right, I think that's
first episode.
We went through first episode. We said we weren't going to go long, and we're almost exactly at 2 hours. So.
Could have watched a movie in this time, but
But yeah, you know, even if just for us, like we're getting our thoughts on record of what were our favorite categories in the year 2022. So honestly, for selfish reasons, I can't wait to go listen to this in 20 years. So.
I mean, honestly,
interesting.
See how much my taste has changed.
No, that's why I think this is a fun episode.
Yeah, this was a
good way to start.
It was stressful to think about all the different movies.
Yes. It took a long time, dude.
I
was thinking about
the last 2
weeks.
We probably missed a lot.
Oh, definitely. Dude, there were so many people I didn't even mention Jiazhanki. I didn't mention
or any
like
of the genre
Science
movies you love, though.
Or like any of the Godzilla
John Carpenter,
movies.
we barely mentioned him.
I had to mention him a couple times, but I didn't give him anything.
Barely mentioned Fellini too, because you guys two haven't seen it.
I haven't seen Fellini.
No, that's true.
I haven't seen too many Italy. Honestly, I need to watch more.
We didn't mention Antonioni.
We didn't mention Bergman, dude. We didn't mention Bergman. Bergman's the one I
Bergman.
read. So.
But that's what this podcast is about. We're gonna go through these.
We will.
That's I guess we can end it like that.
Next week, what? French New Wave?
Yeah. Next. So Luke, so we decided Luke is gonna pick the first topic, and the first one we're gonna go through is French New Wave.
Yeah.
Starting next week. We'll probably spend a few weeks on it, and we'll have, I guess by next week we'll have all the topics and episode lists, so we can post what we're going to watch and stuff in the future. But for now, thanks for listening to our first inaugural episode of Floating Through Film, and have a nice night.